Hi, everyone. Official hi and hello again from the Doodle Crew. I feel like we just saw you, but I don't care because I'm excited to draw some more. Hello, B Mel. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We're here with another stream, and as you guys may have noticed, there are two new humans. There's my camera. Two new humans we have. So this is cool. So we're starting to, branch out a little bit from the OG Doodle Crew and bringing in some more of our friends. Tony P was our guinea pig, and now since that went well, we're bringing in some more cool peeps to hang out with us. So tonight's theme is going to be scenes from the chat, which again I think sounds really, really cool when you read it. It's a lot harder to say and not sound silly when I say it out loud, but this one is actually going to be really cool because these are suggestions that came from meow. These are suggestions that came from our last prompt stream where you guys were able to throw in suggestions, and we picked 4 of them, and we're going to draw them tonight, which is great. So for those of you who were there and remember some of the prompts that were thrown out, awesome. If not, you're going to be like us, and you're not necessarily going to know what we're drawing tonight. So it's going to be good. So in an effort to not scare everybody off, we are giving a little bit more time to these prompts tonight. So for each prompt, we're going to have 25 minutes to work on. So we're going to cover 4 of them, a little bit of chat in between about the art that we're creating. And as always, chat, if you have questions or anything, definitely hit us up and we'll highlight as best we can. Yes. So hi, everybody. And as always, let me think. If you are curious about any of the artists you see on stream, drop a note in that chat, and we can drop their socials and their follows so you can follow these lovely people. But in an effort to get kicked off, I'm going to go around and we're going to do the thing where we introduce ourselves. So Nicole, you're first. Say who you are and where people can find you.
I'm Nicole, and I do streams sometimes, and I'm on a podcast with one of the 2 new humans today. And you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Mayor Squish.
Yes. So if those of you were already following Nicole, she has rebranded. So make sure that you go over and follow that new rebrand that she's doing. Yeah. And Laura, hi. Who are you and where can they find you?
Hi. I'm Laura Charles. You can find me at Laura Charles Art. I'm on Instagram, Twitter mostly. I also have Facebook that I sometimes post to. And I have a website. You can check that out. It's lauracharles.art. And I do illustration and fine art, mostly watercolor, oil painting, and I'm playing around with gouache recently, so I'm actually going to do that today. We're going to see how that goes.
Awesome. And as one of our new humans, say hello, John, and tell people who you are and where they can find you.
Hi, I'm John. I do art. I don't know, like I do a bunch of illustrations, or at least I did. The pandemic has made that really difficult for me for some reason. Like my brain just can't quite key in. And I switched more to getting back into animation lately. But you can find a lot of my illustration stuff at johnhefner.com. And I'm also on Instagram at johnhefner.
Yay! Awesome. Yes. So I know John, as I was talking before we went live, or maybe before we officially started recording, I know John from the Comic-Con scene. So he's done some really cool stuff, and his pencil work is super detailed and gorgeous, and I'm always jealous. So I'm happy to have him here. And our last new human, hi, welcome. Who are you, and where can they find you?
Hi, hello, good morning. I am Paul Soapbox Klotz. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Soapbox Klotz. I stream occasionally. I have a podcast with Nicole, Crash Test Pilots, where we watch the first episode of television programs and give you the rundown. It's kind of like a book club for TV shows. It's fun. And I don't art good, but I like to talk. And that's what I'm here to do.
But you do paint minis, as we've talked about, which
I talk about and think about painting minis and occasionally put a little bit of paint on a brush and then hate everything that I just did and strip it all off. So, yeah.
Yeah, can't relate at all. So weird. So Paul has graciously decided and helped us out by being our mod and our MC for tonight. I don't want to say mod because Nicole's the mod. So, so he's going to be feeding us our prompts for tonight. And just a sidebar, Randall wants to know, how many times does Soapbox get asked if he's Smooth McGroove?
Who the heck is Smooth McGroove?
I don't know who Smooth McGroove is either. I'm sorry, Randall. I feel like I know, but I don't.
Educate us. So, all right. So with the prompts, my understanding is one of these was a typo.
Oh,
right.
Maybe. Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
You're supposed to know, Swan.
I know things. So apparently he does acapella video game covers.
Oh.
So, all right. Hey, Randall, send me that link and I'll drop that in chat. Yes. So, yeah, I know how things work. Yes. So one of these prompts that we got was something random that happened in the prompt chat and was a mistype and a misread, and it was just funny, and we ran with it. So we kept it, and it became a prompt. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, since I get to decide the order of these prompts, I decided we should go with that one first, because how better to start a new endeavor than to have a little bit of a typo, if you will.
Absolutely.
So this is basically to be interpreted as like open form, do whatever you want, right, Swan?
Absolutely. Yep. So as far as these prompts go, I'm leaving it up to each individual artist. You can draw as much or as little as you want, but also take it in any direction you want. There won't be a reveal. Obviously, the audience will be able to see what we're drawing, but we don't reveal to each other until we're kind of done, and then see what these prompts mean to us.
Yeah. So I am going to start the timer here momentarily. And the prompt, for anybody wondering, is Opemope.
Opemope.
Opemope, which means nothing to me, and apparently that was rightfully so. So yeah. And I'm beginning now. Start your engines and all of that. All right. Simkin in chat says, have a good stream. Thank you, Simkin.
Thank you, Simkin.
And, yeah. So chat, while we get started here, has anybody seen any exciting pieces of art lately that they'd like to bring up and talk about? Well, we let our artists kind of settle in and find their inspo.
I mean, does the Nintendo Direct count as
Well,
art?
I was going to say, I feel like that was a softball. guardianrandy says pankake.
Oh, yeah. So, chat, that's a little bit of an inside joke for the Doodle Crew Discord that we have. And we have an art share channel, and it doesn't disappoint. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's every bit as disturbing as it might seem, but also hilarious and wonderful. I suppose I could regale you good folk with a story about the term that is derived from. Yes. Many years ago, I was working retail, and one of my coworkers was telling this story to other people at work about how he watched this weird boot cake video on the internet.
Oh no.
And suddenly, I can't remember if it was myself or one of the other people there, turned and looked at him and said, "Do you mean bukkake?" And he's like, "I don't know, maybe." And we're like, "I think you do, and we know exactly what that is, and you're a naughty boy." I'm leaving now.
Did he describe it as funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is an interesting position. Yep. BioCow's like, boot cake? Oh no. Hi Shadow. Hello. Welcome. Yeah, that was it's one of those things, you know, I don't think people bump into Japanese terms very often just in the wild like that, so it probably didn't occur to him that it might be a very foreign delicacy, if you will.
Well, I remember when like meme started to be a thing because hey, we're old. But like nobody knew how to pronounce it, so it was like, is it Mimi? Is it meme? Like, what is it? And now it's so in the cultural zeitgeist that.
I only discovered that it was a word before that like it was an actual scientific term. I only discovered that like, let's say like 5 years ago.
BioCow says Meme is the correct form. Guardian Randy says there was an old Flash animation on albino black sheep. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Oh my god, I know.
And E-Bomb's World called I Like Bukake. And he says, I think that was a lot of people's introduction back in the day. Yeah. It's
I haven't thought of albino black sheep in probably 15 years.
People bring it up from time to time. Actually, some of those early meme sites, people were talking about them recently when Flash was officially retired.
Yeah.
Because there were efforts to archive a lot of the Flash games and other content that never got translated to other medium from back then. Other media, not medium. Sorry. And so, yeah, there was this kind of mad dash by people to archive all that stuff because they're like, this was internet history. Like,
It really is.
in the internet's prepubescent formative years, this is what we had for entertainment, and we have to do something to save it for posterity.
Yeah, no, and it's, again, I give a shout out to all those original artists doing animations for E-Bomb's World and stuff like that, because like we didn't have the technology that we do now. Like it was a lot harder to do a lot of this stuff, and the fact that they were drawing them in like MS Paint and stuff like that is insane.
It's everything too, right? So not only did we not have the technology, but the knowledge pool, it was not as easy to find information and tutorials and all that about stuff like animation. So, the pool of people who were capable of doing it and what they were doing with limited technology and, resources was incredible. A lot of that stuff was just really brilliant and cutting edge.
It was. And I mean, the end of the world is still something that I quote to this day. And that's how many years old? Oh, yes. So Guardian Randy says Newgrounds soaked up a lot of time in high school and college. Yes. And Kia Creation says this is good. It's our era's form of Shakespeare, which, again, and I wish Steph was here because she would scream it from the rooftops, and I love her for it, that Shakespeare was for the masses. It was meant to be enjoyed by everybody, and it's not high art. Like, it's dick jokes and romance. And, same amount of dick jokes. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Fun for the whole family.
Delphine says Simkin used to make AMVs in the early aughts. Well, that's another throwback to that era. When people would take their favorite songs and make AMVs out of anime.
Oh gosh, I still have some that I go back and watch because they're just so well done.
And I remember that they would get proliferated a lot because there were only a handful of them out there that were really good.
Yeah.
So
again, like you said, with not being able to find like some of these Japanese imports were from media that we didn't have access to. Like you either had to find it from some shady website and order it, or you had to actually have a direct link to it. So it was even that much more impressive to be making them.
Mm-hmm. Like I distinctly remember when I was in college, there was an EVA AMV set to Rammstein's Engel. And I can still remember the scenes to the beat, like the way they played out, because I watched it so many times back then. And there was like nothing else out there like that. It was amazing.
Yep. There was one, and I don't even remember what anime it was from, but it was set to Frau's Must Be Dreaming, and the title of it was Euphoria, and it was gorgeous and stunning. And I might go watch it again after stream, let's be honest.
BioCow says, wife and I watched Homestar Runner and came up with our own characters. Eddie the Toe, a literal toe in a fedora and three-piece suit, who was a gangster, complete with a sidekick who was a pinky. I like that.
Oh, Homestar Runner was so good. So good.
I never watched all of Homestar. So I always got the cliff notes of it, of like what became memes.
Yeah. Yeah, my big thing was always the strong bad emails. That was the one where I spent the most time.
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
Especially,
I watched both for a while, but Strong Bad hung on longer for me.
yeah.
To be honest, Strong Bad emails were the only appealing thing to me about Homestar Runner.
I'm trying to remember any of the other storylines, and I remember some of the characters, but they don't have the longevity that the Strong Bad emails. Like, I still do and I'd have blue hair for no reason, which doesn't mean anything to anybody under the age of 30, and even some of the people over 30, it doesn't mean anything too. So, like, that's such a random, like, why would you quote that? No one knows what you're saying. I do it.
That's okay. I don't know what younger people are saying either. So
No, they speak a different language that I don't.
Same. And that's sad because I'm only 24, but kids these days, man.
Talking crazy.
it's worse.
What unit of measurement is a yeet?
It is maximum effort. That is the unit. You must yeet it with righteous authority.
I will say something I love when we were still in person and I was teaching middle schoolers is to do the thing where you absolutely like butcher the terminology, or like you try and fit it in like the uncool like teacher that you are, and be like, nah, kids, this new drawing is gonna be lit, fam, and like watching them cringe so much like
I don't think they realize how much pleasure we get out of doing that.
Yeah.
they're like, wow, they're so lame. I'm like, oh, kids, you don't even know.
Like, wow, they're trying way too hard, and we're like, no.
And all I can think of,
you're missing some essential context, children.
all I can think of is Steve Buscemi with a skateboard over his shoulder.
Yep.
Hello,
I
fellow
love
children.
Yep. That is my goal every day in class. Hello, fellow youth. Oh, I love it so much.
It's always fun to use terminology from your youth that is now archaic and then have it come back into vogue because the youth are using it ironically, but you're still using it unironically the way you used to. That's always fun.
Yes.
I've discovered I have to stop, apparently, parting my hair on the side.
Yeah.
I don't have to, but it's severely uncool, apparently.
Oh yeah, me too. I have that same problem.
I mean, we've all come a long way from our youth. I've come a long way from my senior pictures with short, frosted tips. Yeah, I was one of those.
Oh no.
Mistakes were made.
I wish you hadn't told me that.
Oh, can we bring back though the like it's the center part, but it's the cut that only goes down to like right above your ear. Like, I don't even know what that was called, but it was just every boy that I was friends with in high school had that haircut.
Wasn't that? Didn't Nick
The
Carter
paintball?
have that for a little while, and that's why everybody had it? Or am I mistaken? I cannot remember late '90s, early aughts culture anymore.
Wait, describe it again, Emily. I missed it.
So instead of just being like the bowl cut that went all the way around, like it was that same thing, but it had then like the fade down towards your ears and down towards your neck, but it had a center part, and they would kind of like Sailor Moon things. What was that?
Hair curtain. Hair curtain.
Yeah, the hair curtain. Yes. Oh, delphineraven says, that's a cabot. Oh, I'm assuming that's my drawing, not the name for the hairstyle. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, I could get behind that.
Yeah. But yes, hair curtain is exactly
like the kids on Home Improvement.
Yes. Oh, so much.
The Papa Man says, like the kids on Home Improvement. Huh?
Well played. Watched the shit out of that show.
That was a really good show.
But it was like top of the line Tim Allen comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yay, Nicole. Thank you for setting up Nightbot. Everybody save your progress. Guess who hasn't saved at all?
And we just caused a short circuit in anybody who's using traditional media.
Hey, like I'm just screwed. Yeah. Too late.
I mean, to be fair, Nicole the other day did try to zoom in on something she was drawing.
Shut up.
I saw her make the gesture and she realized she made it and then she called herself out for it.
Okay, Nicole, I've done it. I've done Control Z before too, where I like leave to like do a shortcut and then I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah.
Because
Or the
I never
double finger tap that they have in Procreate. Like
the tablet in front of me and have my keyboard off to the side. Like when I'm drawing, I do the same thing. So like my left hand is trying to do Control Z, and I was like, "You're working on paper. What are you doing?"
I've done that on paintings before.
Yeah.
Like
Usually
actual acrylic going in with yellow somewhere and being like, oh, that's not working at all. Undo. Undo. Son of a bitch.
Made a terrible mistake.
Shadow says, click the floppy disk.
Okay, so you laugh about that, but at the job that I worked at not 2 years ago at the embroidery shop, the embroidery machines, because of the panel that they have that reads the design in order to send it through to the actual like industrial sewing machine, they still used floppy disks. So I used within the last 5 years. Like we had thousands of them because it costs like $800 to $1,000 to upgrade the machine to do a USB. And we're like, well, the floppy disk still works. So we would have to like invest in USB floppy disk adapters because no computers come with them anymore. And it was the most random, like I'd have days where I'm just like, I'm so mad. Like my floppy disk isn't working. And I'm like, it is 2017. What is happening? Yep.
That's incredible. It doesn't seem like that angst would be worth it for the $500 to $800.
Yep. But we had like 36 machines, so it adds up. But
yeah, that's true.
But
I feel like work that into a yearly budget. Do like one a year, 1 or 2 a year.
So
the Papa Man says lighting consoles for concerts and theaters still use floppy disks.
there you go.
Huh.
Well, I know like old school like CIA and spycraft stuff do, but it's more because it's not a security risk. Like you can't hack it because it's so old school. But yeah.
BioCow says 3.5 or 3 1/2 or 5 1/4. That's the real question.
I was just gonna say, asking the real questions now.
Hey, is my screen sharing okay? Or what?
Let me bring you in so people can see what you're working on. Oh, he's so cute.
Oh my god, I had like the same idea.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm sending it away just for a second because I want to do the big reveal at the end. But yes.
I feel like Opemope. I feel like everyone knows what the misspelling of Opemope was supposed to be.
I have no memory of it because the brain worms, but
Everyone's doing adorable animals.
well, I know we talked about like Appa after it and something in my brain, like it's been, I was like, no, Opemope is a cute animal. That's what it is. There is no
my
other
reasoning too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mine's gonna be a real bummer.
got mope in the name, so
I know mine is very mopey.
Oh, life is suffering.
oh, it's the sad robot from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, now I'm sad about Alan Rickman again.
Oh, yeah.
I am very depressed today.
How are we doing on time? I realize this I've been.
You're good. I'll give you a 5-minute warning in about 2.5 minutes. Come on, artist. Do mental math. Let's go.
No.
BioCow says, I preferred my zip drive. I was going to bring that up. Does everybody remember when the iOmega zip drive came out and it was going to revolutionize data and completely kick 3.5 to the curb? And then like 2 years later, USB existed, and it was like, oh, okay, we don't need these stupid
JK,
these physical medias anymore.
you're precious.
Yeah, I do remember that because I had to like get all of my school data onto the zip drives, and then again, like you said, like a year later, they're like, "Why do you have them on there?" Because you told me to.
Because this was the future, man.
The future isn't what it used to be.
Uh,
I still fondly remember Laserdisc.
I was gonna say you. Sometimes you Betamax when you should have VHS. Shows.
oh god.
The Papa Man says you also needed different zip drives for different zip disk capacities. I do not remember that, but that does make sense.
I think it's fascinating too because you look at from the 90s, so we'll say like mid 90s to the 2010s and like that chunk of time, like technology jumped so much that it was moving so fast it was ridiculous. Also, if you want something really fun, and this is a total shout out to Paul and Nicole on Crash Test Pilots, I totally watched Halt and Catch Fire because of them. And if you want to talk about early technology, they also have an episode about it. So
I do. Before I talk about that a little bit, let me give you guys about a 5-minute warning here.
Thank you.
You got 5 minutes and a little bit of change. But yeah, Halt and Catch Fire is this really fun show that captures that late 70s, early 80s era of like personal computing and trying to be like, you know, the company that figures it all out to make that next giant leap. And it's semi, I don't want to call it like historical because it's inspired by stuff that actually happened, but it's definitely fiction. And it's really good though. Lee Pace, we talked about that so much because when M guested with us on Crash Test, she brought Pushing Daisies, which Lee Pace was incredible in. And he's awesome on Halt and Catch Fire. So
good. And it's so different. Like, again, you talk about range that he has. It is such a different character in that show, but he just kills it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He's this insane salesman. Also, Mackenzie Davis with her, I believe that was her big breakout.
I think so.
She's great on that. And then Scooter McNary, I believe is his name as well, is really good. Those are the three principals, and they're just awesome. It's such a good show.
It's such a good show. And I've only ever seen him as like side characters or like bit characters. Mm-hmm. He is crushing it. Like he is so good in it.
And it's cool because they manage to touch on all those, like, they kind of base the characters a little bit on some key figures from, you know, personal computing history. Like Lee's character has a little bit of a, what's his name vibe? Oh, geez. Apple. Steve Jobs. He has a little bit of a Steve Jobs thing going on, like the arrogance and the visionary aspect and everything. Like I'm the only guy in the room who understands what's going on and where the future is. And everyone else is like, you're not wrong, Walter. You're an asshole.
You're just a dick.
And then Scoot's character is a little bit of like a Wozniak type.
I was going to say, he feels very Woz to me.
Absolutely. And it's cool. But then, you know, later on in the series, you get to see him become the CEO of a successful company that is kind of like circling the drain, but nobody knows it yet. And so you get to see him come full circle as a character and like kind of end up being in that executive role where like you're not doing the thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's a great show. It flew under the radar. Like it got, I think, 3 or 4 seasons, but not a lot of people talked about it.
I think I saw an ad for it and I scrolled past it a couple of times. But now I kind of want to watch it.
I really recommend it, especially because it kind of accentuates that early, like almost punk rock vibe to the early PC revolution, like what the devs were doing. on the back end and like what they were trying to achieve. 2-minute warning. We're cranking up the pressure. Holy crap, Swan. For once you actually got to finish a piece.
Right.
Or nearly finish a piece.
I'm learning. It's so bad. Also, like, again, as I was going back and publishing my one from the first Saturday morning cartoons, I was like, hey, idiot, maybe don't pick 5 characters. Like, just don't. Just pick a couple. You can still do good art with just a couple. You don't have to go all above and beyond. So, yeah, baby steps. I can be taught.
Delphine says, I saw Rocky Horror for the first time on Laserdisc.
Aw.
Nice.
And BioCow says, I love Waz. He's like the friendliest guy on the planet. Got him to sign my netbook, Hackintosh.
Oh, that's adorable.
I've always pretty much heard good things about Waz. All right, 30 seconds, folks.
Shouldn't have erased that line.
There's something weird on my paper.
Del says her parents vetoed watching Cool World. But
Oh,
they
God.
were okay with Rocky Horror?
I mean, I think one has definitely lasted longer in cultural zeitgeist than the other, but still.
That is
Also-
definitely the case.
Also, only one of those is actually good.
Yeah, that's fair as well.
Oh, such.
BioCow says something very sweet. You're out of time, by the way. You guys are amazing artists. Thanks for sharing this on stream.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, by the way, you guys, I don't know if you guys know who BioCow is, but he's the creator, I think, sole creator of the Showbot thing that we use.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I
Well-
noticed it when I was rewatching the other one, but I was not on that, so I couldn't tell you guys.
That's so dope because your technology is amazing, and the reason we have these prompts today is because of something you put together. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's really dope. Okay, because it's mopey, Laura, do you want to go first?
Sure, why not? I did not get to paint, and there's a weird.
Oh, but it's so sad.
Why? Focus. Oh well. Okay, you'll have to see it better when I take a picture of it. But yeah, I got the drawing done at least.
It looks really
I like
good.
that.
And I've named her Ope.
I like it.
She's
No, that's
amazing.
really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's go back to this. Nicole, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm not good at drawing creatures, but I wanted to draw one anyway.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I thought I had seen something like this before, but I could not, I couldn't think of it. I feel like I've seen someone draw something like this before. So I'm sorry if I took anyone's idea.
No,
No.
I love it. It's not jumping out as anything specific to me. So, yeah. No, that's so cute.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
can't,
pretty adorable.
it doesn't look like anything I've seen before, but it does make me think of Futurama. Like, this could show up in Futurama.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
Adorable.
don't
No,
want to do that.
the goodest boy.
And Thistle says, so cool.
Thanks, Megan. All right. So I'm going to jump over and share John's so you can actually see. Look at it.
Oh my god, it's so good.
So good. Also, John, I love that you literally get your mechanical pencil sketchiness completely transferred to your digital medium. I hate you a little bit for it, but it's so dope.
I accept your hate.
Oh,
I
he turned
embrace
out
it.
cute. Also, great teeth. Just really nice teeth.
I was like, what if a sheepdog was also Totoro?
Oh, oh my gosh, I love it. No, I like the little dude on top too. Like he looks extra mopey.
Right?
I just say, I feel like it's a pair. Like he's Mope and your dog is Ope.
That could
Oh,
be.
It
I
looks a
love
little bit
it.
like Dobby. Is that Dobby on top?
Oh, it does look like Dobby. Yeah, it's got the
It wasn't intended to be, but it could be. It could be a Dobby. It could be just a very sad mopey Dobby.
mopey Dobby. Well, I feel like it's one of those where, like, as we consume media, like it lives in our brains and then reappears when we're not expecting it. We're like, I feel like I want to draw this because I need to, but I don't know why. All right, I'm gonna switch over and show my boop. There's my
So cute.
Opemope.
Oh.
Very Ryo-Oki from Tenchi Universe. So I was thinking like big like red ears and big feet and yeah, just I don't know, very playful. I also imagine like it's actually like the size of a miniature horse. Like it's not actually a small thing, like it's a huge thing. Yes. Yes, Randall, that is exactly it. Ryo-Oki mixed with Momo from Avatar. So, jump back. So, a big thank you to jessebetz. This was his suggestion. So, I'll have everybody who is working digitally save, and then we will jump to our next prompt.
All right. So, since I get to choose order, I am going to choose one that I've been very excited to see our artist tackle since I saw these prompts. delphineraven suggested Cottagecore Boy meets Death Metal Girl.
Yeah. Right.
I remember that one. I like that.
And John seems to be turning to the resource of the internet.
I'm confused as to what Cottagecore Boy should look like.
Yeah.
I know what Cottagecore is.
So at least for the Animal Crossing side of it, it's very much like glamping. So you are quote unquote camping, but like there's a cute little cottage and there's a place to take an outside shower and like it's kind of an elevated camping. So at least in the Animal Crossing way, that's the Bean says cotton shirt, suspenders. Not wrong, Bean.
Pretty much.
All right. And since there seems to be some confusion in chat, Cottagecore, also known under the name Farmcore or Countrycore, is an aesthetic inspired by a romanticized interpretation of Western agricultural life.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like the farm version of like hipster lumberjacks.
I was just gonna say it's got to be like the hipster lumberjacks, right? The dudes with the thick beard, flannel, have literally never seen a forest other than through the window of a vehicle.
Probably not be trusted with an actual axe.
And I gave you guys a little bit of a start there, but I'm going to start the timer. So, Bean says cotton shirt, suspenders, burlap sack pants.
Definitely good.
This is a fun prompt. I can't wait to see what you wonderful artists come up with. So, speaking of Animal Crossing, you do a ton of art for our friends over at Nook's Tavern.
Yeah.
And they take time to do their like community corner. I forget exactly what Phil calls it, but it is absolutely incredible how creative people are with the relatively limited palette of the Animal Crossing game. and the environments that they can create on their islands, and especially using like forced perspective to achieve certain things. It is so awesome. And so yeah, if you're a fan of Animal Crossing and you haven't heard of Nook's Tavern, go check them out. They're a lot of fun, and they do go out of their way to like highlight people who do incredible artistic things in Animal Crossing.
It is their community spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dope. And honestly, like, they frequently find great stuff on Reddit. So if you ever go into their show notes, they link to all of the cool things they find. But yeah, just spending some time in the Animal Crossing Reddit is such a wonderful and lovely place. And it's just, like you said, I have the same game. I know we possess the same materials. I can't make what these people are making because it is so cool.
Yeah, and I say limited palette, but like you can import custom designs, so you can achieve a lot through custom designs, but there's also a limited number of customs that you can bring in. And I've just seen like insane stuff. Like even within the first couple of weeks, like people did their entire island as like Japanese cities with the vending machines and the lanes, all that. Like they literally looked like a city just plucked right out of Japan. And it's mind-boggling what people are capable of. It makes me want to throw my Switch out the window. Just be like, I'm done with you.
As any good art should. Give you an emotional reaction.
Kit Kat the Cat says, it's like farm forest stuff meets enchanted fairy stuff. Cute animals, cute mushrooms, cute plants. I'm kind of doing that, and I read that initially in like a Stefan from SNL voice, like
it's got everything.
It's got everything. It's like farm forest stuff meets enchanted fairy stuff, cute animals, cute mushrooms.
Oh my god, it's so good.
A midget with nothing but suspenders on.
I miss you.
I miss Bill Hader on SNL just for that alone.
Bill Hader needs to come back more often.
Yep, I agree.
Well, and I didn't know for a while, because I love John Mulaney and his stand-ups are just incredible, but I didn't realize that when he was a writer for it, he would sometimes switch up the script from what they originally put on the prompter to what was actually shown during the show. So when you see Bill Hader break, like that's his genuine reaction to something that Mulaney wrote, and I love it even more because of that.
Yeah, pretty much every time.
Bill Hader break.
Yeah, every time he grabs his face and breaks, it's authentic. Like it's not part of the act.
And it just makes it funnier.
Yep.
It does. And I don't know why, like him breaking, I find a lot funnier than like Adam Sandler breaking or
Jimmy Fallon.
Yep. Thank you. That was exactly what I was thinking. Like for some reason, Hader doing it is so much funnier to me.
So like when Bill Hader is doing it, what's his one character on the Weekend Update? He's constantly doing this, just constantly.
That's Stefan. Yeah, that's who we're talking
Stefan,
about.
yes. Yeah, just the way that like he's incorporated it into the character. It's like I'm losing it, but I can still be in character while I'm losing it.
Yeah.
And he can spin it. It's not just breaking composure and getting everybody else like jarred. It's like no, we're rolling with it. We're improvising. It's jazz time, people.
Yep. And like with somebody like Fallon, he literally would just make eye contact with like Horatio and lose it, and that was it. Like he wasn't even because it was funny. He just couldn't get through scenes.
Right.
But Hader could show up and do like entire scenes and absolutely kill it and keep face the entire time. But for whatever reason, that fresh prompt from Mulaney would just destroy him. And it was so worth it.
So good.
I went through a phase about a month ago where I would watch YouTube compilations of nothing but Bill Hader breaking characters. And it was so soul-warming. I highly recommend it to anyone having a bad day. Or a good day, really, anytime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's that character Stefan is such a good pairing with Seth Meyers on the desk too, and just watching him laugh at the whole thing as well, trying to maintain face as well.
I just rewatched his stand-up Lobby Baby, and it's, oh my god, just reminded of how good he is. He's just so funny.
I love Barry too.
Who is that?
Oh, I love Bill Hader and Barry.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Barry's a lot of fun as well. That's a little bit of a sleeper hit. Like, some people know about it and talk about it, but like, you don't hear like people screaming it from the rooftops or anything.
Well, and I
Definitely
think
recommend that.
at this point, I enjoy SNL so much more in like little clips that are shared rather than sitting and actually watching the whole show.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's nothing against. It's just like they really do have some great moments that I think get lost in some of the other. How many seasons have we done?
Yeah, SNL is one of those shows where, like, on the average night, you have, I don't know, maybe 30% of the skits are like really good, and then maybe another 20% are okay, and then you got about 50% that are like pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's still for anybody who's not an SNL fan, you might be interested to see their writing process, because they really do start with nothing and build the show from nothing in about 4 days, and then start doing dress rehearsals and polish it up in that last day and a half or so.
Which is not a lot of time.
Not at
To
all.
come up with stuff and then rehearse it to a level where you could get comfortable with it. Like that's insanity.
Absolutely. Dell says, because Bill isn't cocky like Adam and Jimmy.
That's fair.
That's fair. I think Adam Sandler today is a lot better than he was at his prime. As a matter of fact, the way he handled his triumphant return to SNL recently was pretty. He basically just was like, yeah, it happened, and it sucked when it happened, but he gets it,
Yeah.
some 20 years later. But yeah, Jimmy's tough, man. I did not have strong feelings about Jimmy when he was on SNL, but over the last few years, people have just kind of piled on and pointed things out, and I'm like, all right, you're bringing me around to this. I get it. You're right. He kind of sucks.
And I think I don't mind him in an ensemble where he's a smaller part, but him as a lead, I don't think is a strong enough actor to pull it off and carry it.
So how do you feel about Jimmy on The Tonight Show?
Honestly, when it comes to talk shows like that, I want Craig Ferguson. I want Graham Norton. Like, that's what I'm actually going to watch. Everything else just feels really heavily produced in a manner where I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care.
I do think some of the Fallon stuff has been pretty good. Like the lip sync rap battles thing that ended up getting spun off into its own show.
Yeah, I liked that. That was
some of that stuff is very fun. But a lot of it is really forced and just kind of contrived.
I think forced is the perfect word, because it was just like I'm by proxy uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like no.
Well, and people have pointed out when he's interviewing somebody, he just starts laughing at something that's not like a joke or funny. They're just like, yeah, so I went to work, and he's like, and he starts slapping the desk. It's like, Jimmy, hold on. Hold on.
Fun yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Like you're too eager.
A little, yeah. You're jumping the gun a little bit here. So yeah, I agree with you though, Craig Ferguson for sure.
Like I loved how honest and authentic he was and is. And as we've talked about, when it comes to Graham Norton, like, you talk about somebody who is just so jazzed to be doing what they're doing. Like, he just seems so excited about it all the time, and it's contagious.
You definitely see that come through in his guests as well. Like, they have fun doing Graham Norton.
Yeah.
And I think you get more out of them too. They're willing to play into bits, and they're willing to be a little bit more forthcoming with their stories or whatever, and do weird stuff.
Also, there's alcohol, which I think has to
Yeah,
help.
that definitely seems to help.
But also, I mean, and I've talked about it, and I think we've talked about it on stream before, that I love Big Fat Quiz Show. I love Jimmy Carr. Like, there's just something different about British talk shows and British television in that sense. And especially that group of actors who kind of guest on everything across the board. Like, it's fun in a different way than I see in American comparable television to that.
So we've had this conversation a few times. So Simkin and Delphine are real life friends of mine, and they are also big fans of panel shows, and so am I, and so is Nicole. And we've had conversations a few times about, like, why can American comedians, or just North American comedians in general, not translate the concept of the panel show to America, to Western television? Because it just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah. Well, and I think, it comes down to even something like Great British Baking Show or Bake Off or any of those, like, the feel of that reality show, quote unquote, is so different from American reality shows. Like, I don't feel like the producers of the baking shows want menace or malice to their participants. Like, there's no grand prize. Like, there's no money that you win. You get the honor of being, on Bake Off. And I feel like they're not, like, trying to stir up drama or trying to set you up to fail. Like, it's just such a different feeling than you get from American reality TV. And I prefer watching that any day of the week.
Yeah, British Bake Off is so wholesome.
It's so good. I love it so much.
To what Laura was just saying about, watching Bill Hader breaking compilations, British Bake Off can definitely turn a frown upside down.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
One of my personal favorite late night hosts was back when we were young. Conan, when he was late night slot, not Tonight Show or his TBS show, not CBS.
Yeah.
Those days were so wild and crazy and just out there and so fun. I miss that a lot.
No, I get that. And I think it's when you're not in a great time slot, like, you're 1 a.m. No one's expecting you to perform because who's really watching your show? And you're just like, okay, so let's go nuts. Why not? Like, what's the reason to not do this crazy thing?
Let's have a masturbating bear. Because we can.
Well, you also don't have to worry about children, like, wandering in.
Yeah.
Very true.
One of my favorite bits that they used to do is in the lead up to the year 2000, the in the year 2000 thing. And then when they kept doing it after the year 2000.
Yes.
And I don't think I will ever erase La Bamba doing in the year 2000 in falsetto from my consciousness.
Yes, hi. You can't be here right now because I can't draw.
Yeah, I would say Conan. Conan was probably my favorite late night host.
I wish I could say that I kept watching him after everything happened with The Tonight Show, but I just didn't.
I watch him every now and again. I listen to his podcast now, but
I've heard a lot of people say his podcast is great.
I do enjoy it.
The episode that I just listened to of My Favorite Murder, he guested on it, and I was like, oh, this is actually really, really fun. Because I'm super fun. Hi, yes, can I help you? I love you, but you can't help me. Oh, when you're in my lap. Thank you.
She's like, Mommy, no more draw.
What you do?
You can't properly pay attention to your cat when you're drawing.
This is true.
Catching up on chat a little bit here, Dell says, I'm still hella sad that Craig Ferguson never got to be on Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
And that Sue and Mel used to stand there and swear while contestants had breakdowns so that the footage would be unusable.
Yes, I saw that in a behind-the-scenes thing, and it just made me love them so much more. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Or I love, you know, heck, if someone is having something go wrong, or like you finished your thing early, the other contestants will come and they will help. Like, what can I do? How can I help you get this so that you have something to present? Like, come on, that's my feels.
Yeah, I hated reality shows until we started getting ones over that weren't like mean.
BioCow says, pop quiz. What is this, speed?
Yeah.
Pop quiz. Who was the first and last guest on Conan?
Oh man,
I actually don't remember.
I feel like I knew this a long time ago, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't recall it.
I'm trying to think of who would have been. Oh, I can't draw and think, BioCow. That's not how this works.
Dell says, in the year 2000, Kermit the Frog will break up with longtime girlfriend Miss Piggy after he converts to Judaism and can no longer eat pork. An actual Conan joke.
Oh my god. And that, kids, was why this is the mature content stream.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's
Shadow says, she wants to keep your hands warm.
Oh, she's very sweet. She is. Especially when she's not
She's like,
biting.
what? Huh? What?
Who,
Who?
me?
Mother, you rebuked me, and now I am ignoring you. BioCow says, hey, John Goodman.
Oh,
That's cool.
I did not know that at any point in my life where that would sound familiar.
That makes me happy.
I tend to enjoy Goodman when he's on talk shows because he seems to be open to like having fun with it. Because some guests are fantastic and some are just terrible.
Yeah. Like, there are times where you can see how hard, like, the host is working, and you're just like, I'm so sorry.
So I got to see a live taping of Conan before he left New York.
That's cool.
Except that it was one of the most boring episodes ever.
Oh no!
But it was so awesome to be there and see the whole process. Like, because they have one of the head writers for the show will warm up the crowd before Conan comes out. So like he'll do basically a short stand-up bit and get people kind of like loosened up and in the mood to laugh. And so that was fun, and it was fun seeing how they do it. And they really do like pretty much just line it up and bang it out. Like they didn't do any reshoots or anything when I was there for that filming. They didn't seem the need to, so like they just kind of went through it. But the guests were Emily Deschanel from Bones and the band Calexico.
No, I don't know them at all.
And I don't remember who the other guest was. And it was just like Emily is a nice lady, but
she's not funny. Not on her own.
Yeah, she's not the life of the party. And
Well,
so
and
Conan was really struggling.
Like, you need her. She plays in Bones, the TV show, so well because she's the straight woman to the humor of like David Boreanaz. So like you need that. You need the goofy person next to her for her to be the straight person too.
Yep. Delphine says Aubrey Plaza is always a treat on talk shows. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, he's an insane person. And I love every minute of it.
Yes, I'm here for it. And reactions, like the reactions from the hosts, they're always like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was thinking, that's what I was going to say. I remember being so shocked. So I like John Goodman, and I've seen him in a lot of different stuff, but I remember being really surprised. He was on West Wing for like 5 episodes, and he was really, really good. Like, really good. And it surprised me because I was like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I've seen him in some dramas that are not coming into my brain at the moment, but he's an excellent actor.
Mm-hmm.
I love it whenever he works with the Coen brothers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Like whether he's pulling a Walter Sobchak or the Cyclops from the Odyssey, he's gold.
He was great in Cloverfield Lane as well.
Oh yeah, he was literally crazy. That was fantastic.
That was such an intense film, and I've said this before many times in prior podcasts and streams. I hate the fact that they tied it into the Cloverfield universe because it was so unnecessary. But I loved that film because he was so intense and so like, on one hand, like you understood who he was and like that he's just this damaged person that is like kind of means well, but is also terrifying because his means well is really controlling and scary.
Okay.
Just such a great character and such a great performance. Sorry, I'm laughing at Nicole. I just watched her go to color something in, color
Shut
her
up.
entire screen that color.
Oh,
Undo.
first.
We got a 3-minute warning, by the way. Go ahead.
There's that great comic where it's the guy in like his little painter overalls and he's got the little paint thing and he goes to do the roller of it and then it fills the whole thing behind him and I was like, it's ridiculously funny. I love it.
Relatable.
Yeah, very, very relatable content. Where is what layer are we? There you are.
Jell says, I love him, but I hated him in Kong Skull Island. I don't.
Yeah, that was kind of a thankless role.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm here for exposition and then to die. That's it.
Yay.
I have no character path, no character arc. I haven't impacted the lives of everybody. I've just talked about the mission or whatever the fuck.
So speaking of Kong, what does everybody think of the forthcoming Godzilla versus Kong?
Other than it's super funny to dunk on Tony P because he's a big King Kong fan, and in my brain I'm just like, no, it's got to be Godzilla. Like, there's no way. But so I enjoyed that part of it. Honestly, like aside from like Mystery Science Theater level stuff, I've never watched a King Kong or Godzilla movie. So I have such a I have no investment in this. So I'm going to pick on Tony, and that's the extent of my investment.
Well, I will say this. I am a fan of kaiju smashing other kaiju.
Yeah.
I don't care about the human drama. And so King of Monsters, the last Godzilla film, was fun in that respect because the fights were awesome. The human story was not great.
Okay.
Kind of belabored and unnecessary.
It was very like eco-terrorist, wants to use the monsters to save the world because humans are ruining the planet. And it's a mixed bag because there's some really good actors in the movie. Like Charles Dance is in there as a bad guy. Vera Farmiga, Bobby Millie Brown, like she brings it. And it's just like, it's so bloated. It's such a bloated goddamn movie. Like they go in extra on everything, but it's exhausting.
And you have Kyle Chandler as like the lead.
Oh, I like him.
I like him too. And he's trying so hard to carry it, but it's like he has to overact in every scene because it's ridiculous.
Coach, clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.
I am interested in seeing what the new movie is like because the director Adam Wingard, he's the guy who did You're Next, the horror film from a bunch of years ago, which is still a phenomenally fun and funny film. Like imagine Die Hard mixed with just like a slasher film. It's a slasher film that is Die Hard.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. So I'm always interested in seeing what that guy does with his movies, like his crew. Sometimes it's not good though. Like they did the Netflix live action Death Note.
Oh no!
No.
And it's like, wow, just really? I know y'all are better than this. What happened here?
Why did you do that?
Well, yeah, and the thing about Death Note is I think it's really hard to translate anime to live action.
100%.
There's so many like weird, this is what we do in this genre of entertainment stuff that is like, it does not translate to live action very well. And when you adapt it, invariably you upset people because they're like, it's not exactly like my favorite manga / anime. What the heck? And it's like, well, do you want a watchable television show or movie, or do you want it to be a live action translation of what you saw and therefore weird and alienating?
Yeah.
I feel.
The same with books.
Yeah.
Like, I would say the best Harry Potter books are the ones that actually are not following. I'm sorry, the best Harry Potter movies are the ones that are not following the books as closely.
Yes.
Because you can't and make a good movie.
There's too much. There's too much information to translate and make it coherent. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like with Lord of the Rings. The first trilogy, they did everything in their power to be as faithful in adapting that as possible, with a few caveats. You know, they had to leave a few things off because you just cannot. Yeah. Rip Tom Bombadil. Which makes sense. Tom Bombadil is a great example. Like, I love that character in the book, but he works in a book and he wouldn't work in the film.
Well, he's serves no purpose, really. I mean, he's nice, but
it would have killed the pacing too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would have straight up murdered it like a thief in the night.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the first trilogy is so tight and hits all the notes, arguably. I mean, I know some people don't care for it, but like for the most part, even the most hardcore fans are like, yeah, no, he did, you know, Jackson did everything in his power to make this as faithfully as possible.
Yeah, it's still a really solid adaptation. Like, I don't go out of my way to watch it again, but I respect it for what he did. Like, that's a heavy piece of literature to take to the big screen, and you could tell that he did it and he loved it and put a lot of heart into it.
For sure. And then all of that was left on the table for The Hobbit. And at that point, we are out of time. BioCow says, gotta run. Thanks all. Have a great evening, and thank you. Heart.
Thank you so much, BioCow. It was awesome having you.
Thank you for your wonderful technology.
Yes. Big thank you.
Tube technology.
All right. So, Nicole, do you want to go first this time?
Sure.
All right. This and they're so cute.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's funny that you started talking about Animal Crossing because I default to Animal Crossing characters when I have to draw characters because I can't draw people. So I saw this really cute picture of Anchovy, which is the duck on the left, sitting under a tree in Animal Crossing eating a lollipop. And I was like, that is so wholesome. And then Cherry, which is the girl on the right, I have her on my island and she's so hard rock and she's cool.
Oh, she's great. I love it. Like, in my brain, even though they don't have like digits, like I'm imagining she's throwing up the devil horns. Like, I love it.
Yep.
No, that turned out super, super cute. Yay! All right. So let me do that.
Yeah,
All
Cherry
right.
also happens to be Nicole's avatar.
This is true.
Even better. All right, John, I'm going to jump over to you next. Okay. Oh, look at that. And you said, I don't just want to draw one stringed instrument. I'm going to draw two because I'm a crazy person. Look at her, though. She's so cool. I want to be her when I grow up. I love it. I love it. Also, I'd probably listen to that music.
I was going to say, I want to hear what they're playing.
Yeah.
Could be a popular
very much
channel.
like that. Like you just channeled a YouTube channel out there somewhere. There is a great video on YouTube somewhere with this exact setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the guys in Lederhosen playing like German folk, but they're playing like Rammstein. Like, I love it. I was like, this isn't
Grandpa's guitars.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, so BioCow says, wow, that hair though. Yeah, John, I kind of need you to draw like Gem and make a print of it in this style, because that's so cool.
That's an
And
idea.
says, he looks like he'd be in a barbershop quartet. Not wrong. Scruffy barbershop versus hairband. 100%. No, this is so cool. Ah, well done.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go next because I know Laura's is going to be really cool, and I'm feeling very self-conscious about mine. All right, let me see. Let me switch back. Let's do it. Do the thing. There we go. All right. So.
Aw, it's cute.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
She's not having any of his little mushroom olive branch offering.
She doesn't want his mushroom cap.
She doesn't want his mushroom cap.
Oh,
Which
God, no.
she's got. I should have added X's to her hands because she's straight edge.
I'm digging the mushroom gift.
I just feel like this is very suggestive.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. There's a reason he's posting up on a toadstool.
No, know your audience. Oh, Del says somewhere in my YouTube favorites I have a synthwave version of Country Roads. So incredible. Oh, that's incredible.
Excellent.
Oh, I love it. All right. And switching.
I like the farmer hat.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So this one was too complicated to paint, and it's a little too small to put close features, but
Oh, but
I feel
look
like it's
at
not
that.
focusing properly.
Nice.
Oh, he looks so nice.
They're friendly.
I love it. I love her boots too. I really want those.
I want the boots too.
Hmm.
So
Uh,
yeah,
he-
there they are.
He reminds me of the husband baker in Kiki's Delivery Service, who's just like this
Yeah.
giant of a man who's very quiet and very sweet. Like, oh, I love it. Oh, these are awesome, you guys. This is so fun.
All right, folks, are we ready for our next prompt?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Maybe.
All right, so we've got a really interesting one I think we'll close out with. So in the meantime, we got one from guardianrandy. Alcoholic cocktails as characters. Example, a little mojito girl.
Oh, this is so fun. I saw this one come in and I have been excited about it because it's just fun.
I actually don't know what to do for this one.
Before the show, Nicole said, "What's your favorite cocktail?" And I was like, "A Caucasian." And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know
That's
how
not
to
what you
draw
said.
that." Well, a White Russian. Sorry. And she's like, "Well, I can't draw that." And I was like,
It really ties together, man.
that.
No.
Listen, Em, that might partially be why it's my favorite. The
That's
other
so
part might be because it's delicious and goes down really easily.
They're super delicious. Yeah, the one that I'm gonna draw is also one that I was like, it's not something I order a lot because it's expensive at the bar, but boy, it's tasty and boy, do I enjoy it. Yeah. And I think for something like this too, it's fun to like kind of like when it came in, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, this is a good chance to draw ones that are maybe not ones that I normally drink, but are super, super colorful. And because you've got all of those crazy like electric blue and red, orange, and yellow and red and pink and all of that, that just is visually stunning. Oh, I like that, Del. Del says Mr. Manhattan would look like Tim Gunn, and you are 100% correct. We're going to make it work.
Oh, this is wonderful. Bean says, worst drink I've ever heard of, white Philadelphian,
Oh, dear.
Yingling and mayo. Thanks, Botch Podcast, for letting me know that's a thing.
I knew it. I knew that was going to be a botched thing.
That's such a botched thing. Oh, God. I like those two ingredients separately. I don't want them together. God. So botched. Philadelphia is a strange, strange place.
Don't we all know it? We are all collectively good friends with a Philadelphian whose name is literally Phil. And he's a weird one.
I feel like he's a remarkably good embodiment of Philadelphia.
Yes, Philadelphia in the flesh for sure.
Well, what is his joke? Like his two fathers are the Philly fanatic and Gritty. So,
I love that. Bean says Tristan ordered that a couple times apparently. Oh dear. Of course he did.
Of course he did. That's so bad.
I feel like T needs constant supervision.
But I love it because, again, so my first interaction really meeting him was at Dragon Con 2019. And so I'd show up at the botched house after sleeping at the Fuddy Duddy house because I wanted to actually sleep. And he'd be in the kitchen, come out, and he's like, yeah, I just whipped this up with like random stuff, and it was the most delicious thing. I'm like, who are you? I don't understand. I saw how drunk you were last night. How are you functioning today?
I enjoy the fact that most people probably will raise an eyebrow at like the Fuddy Duddy house because they're not in on it.
You didn't know. It was so good. It was so quiet. I got sleep. It was nice.
Nicole in my room was very quiet for the most part. But the air conditioning was not so good.
Oh, no.
So we spent a good portion of the evenings just staring at the ceiling like...
You were sitting on the floor at one point because that's where the air kicked in.
I did discover exactly where the air blasted into the room, and I sat directly below it for a while. And I wasn't upset about it.
Yeah, I knew how hot it was going to be, and even with that, like, oh, Atlanta kicked my butt.
Same.
There's a indescribable, unexpected quotient that's involved, though, right? Like, you're like,
Yes.
okay, you look at the temperature and you're like, okay, it's going to be 95 degrees. And you're like, I know what 95 degrees feels like. And then you're 95 degrees at a convention with literally 70,000 other people in Atlanta in late summer. And you're like, I don't know what 95 degrees feels like. Like the surface of the sun.
Yeah, well,
Like,
and
no, I changed my mind.
you were walking from hotel to hotel, so you weren't just inside. Like, you were inside, you were outside, you were up, you were down, like all of these things. I'm like, my body doesn't know what's happening. Also, drank like crazy and didn't get enough sleep, so I can't imagine why my ass having physical reactions.
Bean says, for whatever reason, Atlanta didn't hit me all that hard. Well, that's because you're young.
I was just
Could it be because you're used to standing near hot things?
Well, that too.
Considering you're foraging.
Hey, shout out to Forging in chat. If you don't already follow him, throw him a follow because he makes actual physical things on a physical forge on stream, and it's dope.
Yeah, Forging Winton is an actual blacksmith. Yeah, you voluntarily stand next to a blast furnace. So
Him standing next to us when we're waiting outside, he's like, what? It's not that bad. And I was like, who are you? I don't understand.
Monster. Shadow says 95 in soup. Yes. Atlanta summertime is essentially signing up to be in a soup.
Yeah.
It's like, so I would shower, get dressed, call the Uber, climb into the Uber basically as soon as it got there, and I'd be like, what? Why do I feel like I just got out of a swimming pool? What the hell?
Yeah.
All I did was walk from the room to the car.
Yeah, there were times when at the botched house, they're like, oh, we're just going to walk into downtown. I was like, are you insane? One, it's more than 1 mile, which is more than I want to walk and then go and stand on my feet. And two, I won't be okay by the time I get there. No, it's a hard
Well, yeah, that's the thing too, right? Like, I can walk a mile, but I don't want to walk a mile in Atlanta heat and then go hang out with thousands of people.
Yeah, carrying a backpack.
Yeah,
like,
they don't deserve that. I don't deserve that. Let's not do that.
Let's just not do that. Let's just not to each other. And yet I missed it so much in 2020.
Yeah. You're not kidding. Bean says it could also be because my work doesn't have air conditioning and I still got to do heavy assembly with like nothing but a fan trying to keep me cool.
I feel like that's you and Stealth King, Bean. Like, both of you work in really like heavy duty, extreme work conditions, and
They're manly men.
They are manly men. Men of action.
They're men in tights. Tights.
I also love it because Bean had a very commanding hat at Comic-Con, and I was impressed with his hat.
He had a fetching hat? A cunning hat?
He had a cunning hat. He walked up to a man in that hat. Okay. Keep my progress.
So I started the clock a little bit late. Oops.
I'm incredibly appreciative of that.
I'm also okay with that.
Yeah, perhaps 25 minutes is a little brief.
For some of the stuff, yeah. And I think these are a little bit trickier because they're a little bit more specific. Like
yeah, these are more complicated than the last one.
Yeah. Although that 5-minute busy fish market, that was hard.
Okay, that was difficult. I will agree.
But you wonderful artist killed it.
That's why I'm excited, and Nicole's awesome for getting these posts out, because now you're getting to see those of us who ended up adding on after the time. You get to see the side-by-side between what 20 minutes looks like versus us actually, especially with that one, what 5 minutes looks like versus taking a little bit more time to clean it up. And I think that's very cool.
Having issues. You guys might just get a blank head.
I think I had said this to you, Nicole, in private chat, that I know I run into when I look at art online and people are like, this was just my quick 10-minute sketch. And I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like that? Come on, man. So, having the side-by-side of being like, no, like this is what I can accomplish in 10 minutes, but I take more time on it, and that's why I think it looks better once I get more time. So I like that real talk. Oh,
Bean says I got a better I got a better real leather hat to wear this year instead of the wax cotton one I wore in 2019.
Well, Bean, I'm going to throw it out to you that you are tall enough that I could not see close detail on your hat, so I didn't know. I just thought it was a very common hat. But you are not a short gentleman.
You were basically in a different time zone from
Everyone's so big. Which then to this day cracks me up that Charles thinks I'm tall. I'm like, you met me in person, Charles. Actual giant. And he's like, what? Yeah, you're like 6'2", 6'4". I'm like, Charles, I am 5'2" on a good day. What are you talking about? Crazy person. Oh, Charles.
I'm trying to gauge where we're at, and seeing some interesting things. So there was a question I had thought of ahead of time that I wanted to ask all of you, and I know Swan, you went to art school, and I believe from prior streams, Laura, you went to the same art school, right?
I went to a different art school, but I did go to art school.
Okay, art school. John, did you go to art school?
I went to the same damned art school as Emily did.
Yeah, he's another one. I just collect them like Pokemon.
And the reason I asked, Nicole, of course, did not go to art school. She went to study computer science and is now trying very hard to get into med school. So she's self-taught. And but I was wondering, I have occasionally bumped into stories on the internet from people who go to art school and have bumped into like judgment and issues with people, namely instructors and such, giving them pushback on being interested in doing stuff like illustration and character work. Now, I think that mostly applies to people going to like quote unquote fine arts programs. What kind of experiences did you all have in art school with that? Did you ever run into like brushing up against people who were maybe in fine arts rather than like animation or illustration, and there being like this social schism?
No.
Well,
At Art Institute, everything was pretty much geared towards like production.
Mm-hmm.
It was all designed, I mean, poorly, but it was all designed in a way that everybody basically just had their heads down and working on projects because, people wanted jobs. This wasn't a place for finding yourself, although I'm sure many people did. It wasn't like a normal college experience for most people. It's an art school. You got weird instructors, you make weird friends, you go to weird parties. Sometimes the parties are really normal. I don't know. Learning how to get drunk. But there was never an overlap with fine arts people, as far as I ever saw. Like, I don't think did Art Institute even have fine arts people?
No. Nope. The closest I'd say we had to it. So we had graphic design, we had fashion illustration, but the school itself was geared as an art tech school. So while I'm getting an art degree, like I have a bachelor's of science, I don't have a bachelor's of art. So it's a very different mindset. Like the goal being that you are being kind of funneled into becoming part of a corporation or a studio. Like you were being built to go and be a part of a team, not to be an individual fine artist. So it's a very different mindset. I think the big thing, and it's one teacher specifically, had a very big grudge against students who drew anime.
Yeah,
That I would agree with.
That
yes,
was
did.
Shh, no names. But I looking back on it now, I kind of understand because for those of us coming in at like 18 and 19, we lacked genuine fundamentals, which wasn't good for what they were trying to teach us. And it is only one slice of the big pie that is animation. But honestly, like that's the biggest amount of pushback I ever got was anything that started to resemble anime was really, really shunned and looked down on.
I would say
Yeah.
I went to a fine arts. I have a fine arts degree, and we had a fine arts department, and I honestly didn't experience much of that. I would say every department and every individual teacher had their own biases against certain things. So I had illustration instructors who we had all been asking for a sequential art class. And the very first day of class, he was one of my favorite teachers, but he got up and he's like, I hate this. I don't understand why you guys want to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm kind of like, great.
Yay.
Useful. So I have heard of it happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny too. So the person that they got to speak at graduation, which I wish I would have skipped my actual graduation ceremony, because for the way that mine was, the quarter that I graduated in, you had a full 8-hour day of standing with your little booth, pitching your portfolio, and then you went to graduation ceremony for another like 3 hours. And I'm just like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. I just want to go home. But the guy who got up and spoke was an architect. And he went like, he introduced the speech as, I'm going to keep this short and I'm going to keep it funny. And he lied because either. But he gets talking about how, like, if you want to go and be an artist in New York City and open your own gallery and like run your own show and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, literally, dude, this doesn't apply to any of us. Yeah. None of us. Like, you couldn't be more wrong for the group that you're talking to. And I agree, like, it's awesome. And I friggin' kudos to the people who do it. It's not us. Like, that's not our goal. That's not our plan. So it was a little tone deaf in that aspect.
That's really fascinating to me. And the reason I asked that question is because I wanted to know what your collective experiences were, because it can be quite different. I've seen like people on Reddit in particular who are in a fine arts program and I believe one of the ones I read most recently was in Europe. And I imagine there's major cultural differences in that regard as well.
Yeah.
And it's just like they were experiencing a lot of pushback because they were predominantly interested in doing illustration. They wanted to do what you guys went to school for, and I think it's so fascinating that you basically, as you put it, Swan, went to a tech school to prepare you to get jobs in the industry. Like, we're going to put you out there ready to go and get jobs in the industry and have work, rather than, John, as you said, an artist out there trying to find yourself or, express yourself per se.
And that was really part of the reason why I chose the school that I did, because their big selling point was you're being instructed by people who worked in the industry. And again, we joke about the Art Institute coming under fire and all of that, but the few instructors that I had that I really liked and really learned a lot from were real talk about a lot of the industry stuff. And again, early 20-something me didn't understand any of it, but like I appreciate that side of it and that honesty. And there are parts of the school that I'm very glad that I went there and experienced what I did. But at the same time, you look at, and I've joked with Nicole that I'm going to show her my animation reel from when I graduated. Like, you look at that and you compare that to students coming out of like Cal Arts in California. I look like a child. I look like I just spent 3 years busting my ass trying to put out an animation reel to get me hired. And I look like a 12-year-old who played in Flash. Oh. So there was a big disconnect from the East Coast to the West Coast as far as education and what it actually meant for getting a job in the future. But also, again, I graduated in 2007 and the animation industry collapsed at that point. So and all sorts of things, changing up.
So honestly, like that just seems to be like how the Art Institute kind of worked, because they were more interested in running it as a business. They weren't interested in quality control. They weren't interested in any kind of testing to make sure that you would be able to cut it in the any kind of art industry really. It's just like, oh, you can afford the student loans, you're in. It's sink or swim time, and we're only gonna do so much for you. And it's crazy because there's a French animation school called Gobelins. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but it's an animation school for animators who are already in the industry. Like, they don't fuck around at all. They're straight up like, no, you need to have worked in production pipelines. You need to be good at this already before we accept you as a student, because we have no room for people who aren't there yet.
Interesting.
I would say art center is kind of like that.
Yeah.
That almost
They're-
sounds like
They're in Pasadena.
I guess the way I would kind of compare that is like, that almost sounds like grad school for people
Yeah.
who want to work in the industry, essentially. Like,
Right, yeah.
you're definitely going to a higher level, but you already have to be good. You can't just, it's not your general education type stuff anymore.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's
Well, and
catch up on chat a little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Em.
No, I was just gonna say and I tried to be very candid with my students about this part, but there was something incredibly sobering about graduating with a degree, and one, looking at a very daunting industry. But as I went in the next, like, we'll say, year of my life, realizing that I wasn't talented enough to get a job that I wanted. Like, that's a heavy realization, and
Yeah.
it was like, it's heartbreaking. I am happy because I'm very happy with where I am now and what I've been able to accomplish. But boy, for those couple of years after school, like, I was broken because I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do with what I had learned. And I do have skill, but I didn't have the skill I needed to do what I wanted. So how do I reconcile, my hopes and my dreams with making money? And yeah, so there you go. So there's a real heavy downer.
Hell, like, yeah, like, I didn't land an actual industry job for, like, Jesus, I don't know, 8 or 9 years until after I graduated. And even then, that job only lasted for, like, not even quite a year. And then everything shut down. And then the studio ceased to exist because of some crazy behind the scenes shit.
Yeah.
And it's rough out there because there's this whole business model where a lot of animators they'll get a job and they'll be on the job for like 6 months to a year, however long it takes for production to do the thing. And then they'll go on hiatus. Then everybody will just go on unemployment for 6 months while they're picked up and can ramp up a second season, and then everybody gets rehired.
Yeah.
And it's fucking crazy to me. Like, that's how studios down in Atlanta do it. Like, I got a buddy who works on Archer. Like, he's been thankfully very consistently employed with them, but there are times when he's like, are we getting renewed? What's going on here? Am I going to have a job this time next year?
Yeah.
Or do I just have to move to another city or whatever, however that works now?
No, I had a buddy who worked out in California, and he was a rigger. So he essentially built like skeletons for game characters and animation characters and stuff like that. And it was, again, they're a side studio that gets hired by the bigger companies when they need to outsource stuff. But he was the same thing. Like, he's like, yeah, it's great, and the money's great for the year that we have the contract. Then I'm unemployed for 6 months until I can find something new. And it's an incredibly stressful way to live and work.
That sounds intense.
Yeah, it's an industry.
So the moral of the story is we're all insane people. Well, Paul, you were going to catch up on chat before I
catch up on chat here real quick so you guys can focus. The Papa Man says, fellow students shunned me because I was not a fan of anime, presumably at art school.
Yes, he also is an art institute person. So he and I were there at the same time.
And Guardian Randy says, meanwhile, we had an animator as our speaker for my graduation 6 months later.
Yep. Not jealous at all, Randall. Not jealous at all.
Goblins is amazing. There's stuff, or sorry, I read it as goblins, but as John was trying to pronounce it differently, I don't know how to pronounce it. Their stuff is so creative. I'm just gonna read that as like fantasy goblins. Fantasy goblins are amazing.
They
And
are
their
amazing.
stuff is so creative. They create all the bumpers for the Annecy Film Festival.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Smashy from Two Dorks says,
Hi,
"Hey,
Smash.
Oh my god, hi.
Thank you for coming in. Let's go. Also, guys, if you want super, super fun, Smashy is on Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, so check them out. Follow them. Like, they do phenomenally cool stuff. So definitely check them out.
yeah."
Yeah.
They have a very, very fun show. I do not art, Smashy. I am emceeing. I'm riffing and doing a terrible job of running the clock properly.
I'm not sad with the amount of time I've gotten to spend on this one.
I'm pretty okay with it. I've discovered, I already knew this, but this is just reinforced that I am extremely slow.
That's why I love, so John has experienced this with me, and something that kind of inspired this Doodle Crew part was at Comic-Cons, there'd be times where we'd either run panels or we would run after show events where we do drink and draw, and we would get prompts from the crowd and we'd all have to draw them, and there would be a time frame. And you sit next to people who work so fast. Like I think of Jeff Munn specifically, who was on the last episode. Like, he is just an incredibly efficient worker, and he works so fast. And if you're sitting next to him, like, there's that pressure to be like, oh my gosh, I have to work faster. I have to get done. Joey Pichtel, who I hope is going to be on an episode later on, like, him, John, and I have all sat on a panel together and been like, how are you done already? I just started.
delphineraven says, "You're not pretty enough to be the MC." That's
Aw.
hurtful.
Oh.
I'm beautiful. Okay. Nicole tells me all the time.
What was the thing that Randy shouted out? Didn't that have lovely in the title of it? He said you looked like a lovely person. For now. I'm sorry, Randall. I can't remember.
I'm just gonna take that as a compliment. We didn't. None of us knew what the reference was to, but I'm gonna assume it was good. Let's see. About 3.5 minutes. Artists. And panic sets in.
We all get really quiet.
But yeah, circling back a little bit, the reason I asked that question, though, is I really wanted to know what your particular experiences were, because I do think it's interesting to hear that there is a quote-unquote art school that is actually super focused on getting people ready to work in the industries and get them out there right away. Because there is this kind of general perception of quote-unquote art school that it is aimless and does not seek to fill needs in society, and that is clearly not the case.
I think sometimes it's like art degrees in a regular college, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you might encounter a lot of art instructors there that are really fine arts focused, and maybe don't appreciate, like, because I specifically went to school for illustration. Like, that was the department I was in. So I didn't really get a lot of flack about that. I took fine art classes to help enhance my drawing skills, but like, they didn't really, I took one class that I misunderstood what the description was, and it was something about pushing perspective on human body. And my, of course, immediate reaction was like, oh, cool, source perspective. And what it really was like conceptually perspective, like she was trying to explain to me what I was doing wrong when she was like critiquing me, and she was kind of like, well, if it's looking right, you're not pushing yourself enough. And I'm like, I don't think I'm in the right class. There's no way I took this class. But yeah, I never really had any issues like that. But I've heard stories of stuff like that, just not at my school.
Yeah, I'm sure
I think it's different
Go ahead.
school. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Paul.
no, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm sure it differs from school to school.
Well, because like you think of like Savannah College of Art and Design has a sequential illustration, essentially a comic book major that you could go into. And had I known that's actually what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have pursued animation, but I didn't realize that comic books were going to be everything that I loved about animation, but what I'd actually wanted to do. And I didn't get that until my mid-20s. And I graduated at 20 years old, so I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the interesting dilemma of higher education, right?
100%.
We graduate high school and we're expected to make life-altering decisions at 18, 19 that are going to chart the rest of our life. And we're expected to know exactly what we want to do, and then know if the programs that we're in are the right programs and are going to bear fruit or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Smashy says, you guys are so good, and also realizing you got the wrong degree makes you want to rage quit the planet.
Yeah. And this is funny. So I brought the topic of college to ADD the 1 week when I was on there. It ended up being a very different conversation than I was expecting. But the thing I will say about it is, for me personally, and this is what I tell students who come to me in my classes or people who come up to me at Comic-Cons, like, I needed college. I did not have the self-motivation or the ability to self-teach in order to be successful. So I really needed deadlines and critiques and grades to motivate me. And it wasn't until many years later when I started to actually be able to self-teach or figure out what I wanted to do and that part of it. So I think I am successful because of it. I'm also very grateful for the friendships and the educators that I met and still keep in contact with from school, because they have been great resources and very valuable and just very important in my life. But I needed it. I needed that structure. I needed that part of it. There were kids at my school who didn't need it. They already knew what they wanted. They were already deep in the forums, figuring out new stuff. Like, they were learning ZBrush before we even had a ZBrush course in 3D animation. So,
Ridiculous.
like, it was insane. But that wasn't me. And I just couldn't do it, and I didn't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, am I disappointed with some of the things that happened and the fact that our school promoted how good they were, like, placing you in industry? Yeah, because I feel lied to. But I don't regret the time that I spent there. I don't regret the people that I met, the education that I got, and the push that it set me on. And there are still fundamentals and techniques that I learned in college that I use to this day because they're valuable. And there are incredibly talented people who were my instructors there, and I'm grateful to them. So that's, you know, for me, that's the part I choose to focus on, because that was what was important. And that's what I want to hold on to. And the rest of the bullshit can just, you know, be bullshit. And the fact that our school doesn't exist anymore can be what it is. But,
right.
you know.
All right, you guys are out of time, but I'm going to give you a little bit more time while we catch up on chat here. Smashy says, right, your brain isn't even cooked yet.
No.
And M. Thistle says, so true. Shadow says, I still don't have a degree and I've been to 3 colleges. That is a very common experience for many people. And I think he's referring to the ADD episode. He was like, that was informative and combative. I can see how that could go down, considering who was on that panel generally. And
you're welcome.
Smashy says, I went to 7 universities and have many degrees, and I used none of them, and they were all expensive, and I'm still a bonehead.
Aw, but you're a wonderful bonehead. We love you.
Yeah. Simpkins says, well, that was fun. Had a college accepted student night that I just got out of. Yeah, because Simkin PhD is actually a game design instructor at a college in the SUNY system. So, and he probably has thoughts about a lot of the stuff we've talked about, like because his job is to prepare people to work in the video game industry, and it's a tall order. Guardian Randy says 7 yikes.com. Papa Man says, hey, that was me and Zaner learning ZBrush in my final term. Smashy says, I regret 8 a.m. classes. Yes, word of advice to any young people out there. Don't sign up for 8 a.m. classes if you're not a morning person, and you probably aren't because you're still a child.
Also, sometimes that was the only option. Like the certain class that you needed, that was the only time it was offered, and it was 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm like, what is wrong?
7 a.m. on a Saturday.
Why would you do that? And then put us in a dark room in front of a computer. No wonder we all fell asleep.
They might as well just make it a correspondence course at that point. Like
what are you doing to me? Yeah.
Sukit says, we're talking about college, but I just got done telling students to come to my program. And K Creation says, I second everything Emily said and needed the structure of college too. Let's put a pin in that because I do want to talk about that a little bit more during the next prompt. Because I have thoughts, because I went to college to be a teacher, but I did not get my degree, and we'll circle back to that. Smashy says, yes, I would like to take one class from Swan because listening to her makes my brain happy.
Oh, thank you so much.
No.
Papa Man says, after we graduated, they started teaching ZBrush to industrial design crew, but not animation students.
Well, of course, because why would you? Jesus Christ. Sorry. Fine.
Shadow says, I don't like the single-minded push for colleges and universities and the push off of trade schools. I actually agree with that.
Oh, Stealth, I have so many thoughts on that. We're on a whole separate thing.
And Smashy says, yeah, college is great if you need it for what you want to learn. Monetizing the industry is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And Simkin says, coordinator for a program, associate professor, not just a lecturer. And so take the helm. Let's show off some art.
Yeah. All right. We're going to jump to John first because I don't think you've gone first yet. Oh, fun. Okay. Tell me all about it. I love him.
All right. So I picked Appletini. And if you're a fan of Scrubs at all, like I base this off of Zach Braff.
Oh,
nice.
I like it. Oh, the pose is so good, though. You know who he reminds me of? And I'm so sorry because I don't know the name and I'm ashamed of it. The demon character from Angel who was like the bartender who always had like the great suits. And, like
Lorne.
Lorne? Oh,
Lorne.
It's so good. Oh, I love it. Also, yum. That is cool. No, that looks great. You got great in it. I like the little necklace too.
Something about it reminds me of the Joker. I think maybe it's just the green, but
I think the lips and the facial structure too.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I like it.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, it's got very like Batman the animated series with the really clean lines and kind of that like triangle shape. Like it's got that feel to how they illustrated the Joker.
Okay.
That's dope. No, that turned out really good. Oh, the pose is just so good. Very, very cool. All right. Laura, I'm going to send you next. All right. Oh, this is cool. Oh, tell me everything.
So I don't even really like them, but Bloody Mary spoke to me. So.
Oh.
That's cool.
Oh my god. That's so dope.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
It's less of a character and more of a painting, I guess, but I enjoyed it.
No, I love
awesome.
it because I feel like it's, at least for like my peripheral understanding of the Bloody Mary like mythos, like it's got some of that menace and horror in it, and I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I should have looked that up. I vaguely remember it being horrible, but I don't remember. I'm pretty sure she isn't bloody in the mouth. Doesn't she have like her head chopped off or something? I forget, but
I have absolutely no idea because
I don't know. I went with this, so.
I dig it. I think it's awesome.
I think what I really like about it is it's got a little bit of like a Japanese spirit vibe to it too, like with the blank eyes and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
So like, like Ringu or
yes.
What's Juno? I think it is the other one. You could totally see like turning in a Japanese house and just seeing this specter in front of you.
And I imagine she has her fingers up to her mouth and like they're a little bit bloody and like it's just it's striking.
Oh, now I want to put fingers there.
I'm sorry. No, that's
I'll just have to do another one.
I was corrected by chat. Juon.
No, that's really dope. I love it. And I love it because it's that what I find scarier when it comes to horror is it's not just like gore porn. Like it's a little bit like that subtle pulled back horror where it's almost scarier then because it is subtle.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That is so cool.
The only thing that would make it worse is if she was a child.
Yep. Yep. Little
creepiest children are the worst.
They'll haunt my nightmares forever. Okay. Well, Nicole, bring us out. Bring us something happier than little children.
I've said this before. I don't know how to draw characters, so I clearly picked a great day to be on Doodle Crew. But I was inspired by I think it's called Blue Lagoon. It's like just a bright blue cocktail. And I think it's often served with like flowers, which is why I picked the flower and the hair. I don't know, just kind of a beachy vibe.
I love it. The gradient's great. No, she's very fun. Also, I mean, selfishly, she looks like me, so I'm very happy about it. So I'll tell a ridiculously side anecdote. So when I was in high school, and not a crazy kid by any means, but I was like, I think it'd be fun to dye my hair. And I was in Walmart with my father, and we were chatting about that. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I think I'd like to dye my tips blue. And from across like the meat cooler aisle, he turns and yells to me. He's like, "You want to dye your tits blue?" No, Dad. The tips of my hair. I would like to dye the tips. Okay, nope. So I didn't.
Dad.
So this one speaks to me on a very real level, and I love every bit of it.
Oh, that's exactly what every teenage girl wants to hear her father shout across the store.
You want to dye your tits blue? No, Dad.
I don't think my dad could say the word tits in front of me. I think he would die.
Yeah, no, I was definitely raised as the son that my dad didn't have, so there was some conversation that happened with that. No, I like it. I really love the fact, Nicole, that you don't have like harsh black outlines around it, that it's got a very soft feel to it. Like I think that just adds to the flowy, like beachy nature of it.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do that anymore because I usually do it.
Smashy also says I want her hair, and same Smashy. I've let my dyed hair grow out, and I kind of want to do this now. So, that's awesome. She's so cute.
Good.
All right, let me switch me over. All right, so I went with a drink I actually really do enjoy. I went with Hurricane because I love this color combo. I love it so much. The pink, the orange, the yellow is just so fun. But I imagine she's like a CEO or a VP of some big company, and like she dresses really crazy, but she is like badass boardroom bitch. Like I like her.
I'm getting some Fifth Element vibe.
Yes, very Fifth Element.
Oh my god, I wish I could wear an outfit like that because I would want to. Does that make sense?
Oh gosh,
I love that outfit.
Those like tight fit like pencil skirts. Like I don't have the body for it, but boy, I would wear the shit out of it. Oh yes, Randall, 100% Pushing Daisy's character. Which, as we talked about, my episode when I guested on Crash Test Pilots, I brought Pushing Daisies because the visual style of it delights me every time. Oh, so Smashy asks, is this a series? This needs to be a series. So yes, this was a topic brought by Guardian Randy, and I think we might bring this back. Hi. Hello. Yes, hi. You want to say hi to the internet? Say hi to the internet. Say hello.
Hi, kitty.
She's so like, yep.
I think she's over it.
She's like, you've been drawing for so much today. Why am I not getting
Kitty.
Time for a stream to be done, Mom.
Come on, Mom. Come on.
You can't hear him, but my cat is going crazy in the basement. He is meowing like I starve him or something.
Yeah, they would lead you to believe that we treat them so poorly, but all right.
That cat gets so many good things, and then he goes and he plays with garbage and sits in cardboard boxes.
Like, why?
And then I try to play with him, and he like walks away from me. I'm like, I don't.
What do you want? What do you want from me?
I just can't please you.
Yeah. Oh, this is, again. It could even be foods as characters, company logos, like when people drew Chrome, Firefox, IE as characters. Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
I like
fun.
because again, as we talked about when we did the Hugh's Hue challenge, like if the colors are already set for me and I don't have to stress about that, like creating art off of that limited palette is really fun. So yeah, Chad, if you guys like this as much as we're liking this, I think we'll bring this one back because this is heckin' fun. So thank you so much, Megan. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. So yeah, all right. If everybody's ready, I think we can roll. Make sure you save and roll.
Yep. Save your work. And our final prompt.
I just saved mine.
Our final prompt is also from delphineraven. Genderbent Muppets.
Oh, no.
I feel attacked.
Yeah, Nicole is historically not a fan of puppets, Muppets, or anything in between.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I feel like I should love the Muppets, and I like them in concept, but I don't have that like nostalgia, like love for them.
You know, Laura,
I just think they're annoying.
What did you say, Nicole?
I just think they're annoying.
I don't blame you. There are definitely times where I'm like, does your voice have to be so high-pitched?
Yeah.
Is it really necessary? I do like Kermit singing "Hurt." I'm in a dark mood today. I don't know what it is.
I love it. I love it so much.
No, but yeah, I personally agree with not really connecting with like the Muppet stuff so much. Like I've enjoyed some of it. I really enjoyed the Muppet / puppet part of Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers that, like I loved that part.
I did like that.
But yeah, I struggle with a lot of children's media because it just cannot keep my attention most of the time. Like the cutesiness and everything just isn't enough for me to stay interested in most cases. And so, yeah, like something like the Muppets, though I will agree. And I know Dell is sitting in chat right now fuming because Dell and Simkin love the Muppets. They often will throw out that the Muppets Christmas Carol is the definitively best version of A Christmas Carol. And I do agree with that.
My husband would say Scrooged is definitively the best.
Which is terrifying. Like, you go back and look at that, I was like, this is scary, guys. Like,
Scrooge is a great take.
But also, again, quintessential Bill Murray. I will live and die on the hill of I love Groundhog Day forever because it's so good.
Well, you cursed us with that mentality because that's how we got 2020 and the beginning of 2021. Shadow saying in chat, my high school was a trade school and then I went into the military. So there's all my trade training. Yeah, so to circle back to real quick first, jessebetz subscribed with Prime. Thank you, jessebetz.
Thank you, jessebetz. Also, I don't know if you were here for it, but we did Opemope at the top, so we did your suggestion. So
Yeah, you'll have to catch that VOD.
Yeah.
Yeah, to what Shadow was kind of talking about there, we do live in an interesting society where there was this big push, particularly I think on our generation, because I think most of us, except for Nicole, are generally in the same shotgun blast of years.
Yes.
There was such an emphasis when we were in school that you should go to school. You should go to college.
Yes.
You should choose what you think you want to do, and you should definitely go to college. You should definitely sign off on those really expensive loans. This is definitely the best choice for your future.
This is it. This is the only thing you do to move forward.
And I went to college to be a teacher, and I did not finish my education, partially because while I was in school, the Common Core debacle started to kind of get rolled out in public schools. And at the time, we didn't really know if, Common Core was going to work or not, if it was good. It was just getting kind of crammed down everybody's throats. And it just seemed like a terrible time. There was a lot of volatility in the late aughts, early 2010s. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go to school for another 3 or 4 years to get my master's to go work in an industry that might not be a good fit. But I still valued my time in school, and I still recommend it to a lot of people. But I definitely do think that there's this huge trap of, like, we send so many kids to school being like, you've got to, you got to pick your future, and they have no idea what the future looks like. And they have no idea if this program is going to resonate for them. And they have no idea if that program is actually going to prepare them to work in the industry or the trade or whatever it might be that they want to do.
Well, and Paul, I think you set it up beautifully, because I think at least John, Laura, and I had the benefit of, I knew I wanted to do art. That wasn't a question for me. I went to college knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I have then since, taken a hard left from it and doing something different. But what I want to do with my life, quote unquote, was never a question. It was always art. How I've chosen to apply it is different. But I realized for a lot of people, they didn't have that certainty. They didn't have that definitive, I know exactly what I want to do. And so you go to college to try and figure it out. Like that's an incredibly expensive, soul-searching experience.
Yep.
That's so funny, because I remember talking to my sister, and my sister is smart. And I told her once that I was jealous because she could do anything she wanted. And she looked at me and she was like, I'm jealous because you knew what you wanted to do. And I'm like, oh. Well, all right.
Your sister and my sister had very similar conversations with us.
Yeah.
My sister, who is also incredibly smart, but didn't and it was one of those where for her, and I'm so proud of her because for so many reasons, but she used, when she graduated high school, she had the opportunity to go to our local community college on a scholarship. So she went for free. But she knew after she got her associate, she's like, I still don't know what I want to do. I'm not going to continue to go to school because I don't know what I want. And I was like, that's incredible, Karen. Like, people don't have that self-awareness and aren't able to get away from the pressure of, well, I have to get a degree because that's the only way I can do something. And you managed to spend very little money and make a very smart decision. And a lot of people, like we were saying, you were saying, Paul, in our age group, didn't follow that same path.
Yeah, I would argue that we were kind of sold. Some people would be very bold about it and say we were sold a lie. I don't know that it was that nefarious. I think it was just
short-sighted, maybe.
Right. We were sent into a system that was ill-prepared in many cases to prepare us for the workforce in the way that it's supposed to. Because that's really one of the big issues. Now, fortunately for for you art school artists here, you were in programs that prepared you for the industry you wanted to work in, even if you weren't necessarily in the like slice of it that you really intended. Like in your case, Swan, you said you were animation, but what you didn't realize is that you wanted to do sequential art and such. But like they were focused on preparing you to work, to enter the workforce in the industry that you wanted to be in. But a lot of programs are not structured that way. And they're just like, yeah, dot all the T's and cross all the I's and do all this arbitrary stuff that we want you to do over the next 4, maybe 5 years because we kind of changed the program while you were in it. Oops, you got to take an extra couple semesters because that's a thing. And you can get out at the other side and not be ready to do anything really.
Well, I remember being told in high school that it didn't matter what you got your degree in, you just needed to get one. And I was kind of like, well, that seems weird. I don't know how that makes sense. I can't remember if it was a teacher or a guidance counselor. It was somebody in authority, though, that told me that. And I'm kind of
like, that seems wrong. Yeah, I had endless, and I mean, again, I was, I have the people please genetics. So I'm certainly not one to bad mouth or backtalk my guidance counselor, but she was like, well, you really need math and science. And I was like, but I want to go to art school. I don't discount math and science. It's great. And I really do enjoy it. And I ended up being a math tutor in college because I'm a crazy person. But I was like, but I want to take more art classes because that's what I want to do with my future. She's like, but if you go to college, you'll need math and science. I'm like, but I want to go to art school. So shouldn't I take more art classes? Are we having the same conversation? I don't think we are.
Jessebetz says, we were sold our parents' experience when they hadn't noticed that the world had changed.
Whew, that's poignant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, Jessebetz, also graduate of Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Simpkin says, I have about a paper's worth of stuff to say about this, but it's been a long day and I do this work all day, every day.
Well, Simpkin, I know, like in one chat, Paul and I were talking. Like, I think there's another one of your streams where we can get into elements of this, especially in a, with you with video game art and that being a major at our college as well. There's a wonderful more. Wow, that's not a word. There is a lot more to explore with that particular conversation.
Well, and this is something I know Simpkin runs into, and I'm sure you guys ran into it with some of your peers at art school. There are people who are like, I like art, I like video games, but they are not built in such a way that will make them successful in those industries.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be a work ethic thing or just the way they work, because I don't want to make it necessarily a personal failing. Some people just don't work out in things that they think they want to do.
No, 100%. Having the love of playing video games is not the same as the love of creating video games. And you look at the number of comic book artists that say, I can't keep up with monthly comics because I'm so busy, versus people who read a ton of comics. Like there's a sacrifice. If you want to be great at your art, it often means you don't get to consume that art that you love. And again, you talk about sucking people in, especially with game art. I feel like the game art major pitched it as, hey, you like to play video games? Come get a degree in it. And I was like, that's not what that major is.
Do you like to play video games? Come prepare for a career that will destroy your love of video games.
Yeah, and work like crazy so you don't have any time to play them. And also spend a whole bunch of time learning animation, which you didn't know you were going to have to do. Sorry.
Well, that's a common criticism that pops up in various gaming communities. They're like, do these devs even play their game? And I'm always like, probably not.
Probably not. That's why you have testers.
They don't have time, and their perspective is going to be completely warped from yours or mine. Yeah. They work in this every day. They're also living in the future. They're living in a build several steps ahead of what's actually live right now for the product. It's a difficult situation to be in. And Swan, to what you were saying about, comic artists, for example, I would worry about being a comic artist and trying to read all the monthly books that are coming out and having that like influence you.
100%.
You know, because like you want to be careful of that. You don't want to be accused of aping on somebody else's work, especially if they're concurrent with your own work.
Yeah, if you're looking at your peers' artwork a ton, and then your art starts to resemble it, and obviously this doesn't include house styles. Like DC has a house style, so you're hired on to just draw in that style, and that's a very different thing. But if you're at Image or you're at some of the Marvel books, and you're just creating something that someone else at another book, or especially like Boom or Dark Horse or one of the smaller publishers, it's not going to end favorably for you.
Catching up on chat a little bit here. Guardian Randy says, I love art and video games, but I don't have the fortitude to do it as a job. So I feel that urge by occasionally doing fan art in my free time.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a healthy expression of loving the video games. Like I think more people should do that, regardless of what they think their skill level is in art, whether or not they think they can draw, or whether or not they have that realization that they can't really turn it into a career. It's like, that's not, like, at the base of it, that's not what art is supposed to be. Art isn't supposed to be, oh, I'm doing this for a living, as nice as that is. Art is expression. Art is how we communicate states of being to other people, and how we can connect. It's a language.
And I think it's awesome with that was incredibly well said, John. Thank you so much. With Randall, like, so Guardian Randy is Randall. He's been on Doodle Crew. He's an incredibly talented artist, and he works in an art medium for his job, but it's not the same as the illustration that we do on Doodle Crew or stuff like that. So, you're getting that art part of it, but it's a very, again, technical art. And so then setting that aside and just enjoying video games or enjoying illustration, enjoying fan art, you still get to enjoy this medium that you love, but you're not grinding all the time unless you're trying to level up. But, it's not always a fight. It's not always a push.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much kind of where I'm at right now. I ended up getting a day job that I love it. I don't hate it. I enjoy it. It's fine. It pays my bills, and now I get to do things like this and draw what I want. And if I don't want to take a job, then I can be like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have as much time to do cool stuff as I would like, because gotta work. And this is right for me right now, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no, I worked full-time jobs for a long time because paying the bills with that job let me go to Comic-Con, especially when I wasn't making money at Comic-Con. Like, I was breaking even, but I wasn't making money. I wasn't making money to live on, but by working the full-time job, it let me have this as a hobby and explore it and learn a lot without, falling into the starving artist stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some parallels with that experience in like content creation as well. Like, whether you want to be a streamer or a YouTuber or something like that, like, everybody thinks, oh, I like video games or I like movies and I want to critique them or play them on the internet. And it's like, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that. And you find yourself spending a lot more time working on like the admin side, or like, if you're making videos, you've got to work on like editing if you don't have an editor, which a lot of people aren't going to be making enough right away to hire an editor, which is that's a whole world unto itself. And it can kind of like really bog down the process and like suck some of the joy out of it. And so it's like, sometimes when you try to pursue doing this thing that you love as your career, the actual stuff that needs to be done to make it viable as that career can kind of just undermine your love for it and your enthusiasm.
100%.
It can be quite difficult.
Well, and I mean, Steph and I, so Steph from Protest Too Much podcast, when we do our In Addition thing, we talked about how social media posting is exhausting. And
Mhm.
I've shouted it out on here. I am so incredibly grateful for Nicole because she helps me make sure that the art that we create on Doodle Crew actually makes it out to the public. I'm not good at that part. And I know I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it for my own promotion. I'm not good at it for my group promotion. So having someone to help you means that the audience that we have now gets to see the art that we're creating, not just on stream. And that's an incredible part of it. And there are times where it feels like just posting and tagging feels like its own job that takes as much time as actually creating the art. And that's insane.
It's just getting worse too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, because your social media presence is starting to become everything, right?
100%.
Well, yeah, and they change the algorithms all the time. Was it Twitter just recently? They've started suppressing. They have the reels or something, and then they started repressing anything that's made on Twitch and just reposted. Like, they just want you to make Instagram only videos.
Mm.
Well, and
God forbid you have a normal life. Like,
right, and you're not just an influencer as your full-time job. Well, and I know there's a company called Adore Me that primarily makes lingerie, and they went on a campaign against TikTok because TikTok frequently suppresses their lingerie that is modeled by larger models. So if you have a plus
really?
thing, like their algorithms are specifically not pushing those up to be viewed as much as ones modeled by skinnier models. And I was like, so not only are we dealing with bullshit of the algorithms to begin with, now you're adding this whole other level of it too. Like it is incredibly daunting. And while, we are tied to it because it is a necessity, it's heartbreaking at times.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad a couple of years ago, but the more I have to do it, I don't know. I feel like it's gotten much worse just in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and the space is constantly getting more and more saturated with people trying to do the same things.
Especially this year.
Oh, well, yeah. I can mostly speak from a podcasting background. I wonder how many podcasts were started in 2020.
Mm.
I imagine it's like if you look at the statistics of like new shows showing up on like Anchor or something like that or Spotify, it's got to be a cliff face of just like, yep. All of a sudden, 3 million new shows were invented in 2020.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be very interesting to me to see once the world opens up, quote unquote, once we're back to whatever the new normal is, where does that land with media and the consumption of that? And again, so Paul, I know you posted in the Discord and it's been floating around my Facebook for a while. But the thing of, it was an infographic of essential jobs and non-essential jobs. And at the very top of non-essential jobs was artists. And again, I've seen this infographic before, I laugh at it, but the very simplistic response I'll give to that is, who did you turn to when the world shut down? Because again, it is the essential workers, it is the hospital workers and the food workers and stuff like that. But when it came to your non-essentials, you went to art, you went to movies, you went to music, you went to podcasts and Twitch streams and all of that. Like, that doesn't make us non-essential. That makes us worthy. That makes us viable. And to continue to say that art isn't like, well, we didn't really need it. I'm like, what you did? 2020, you did.
I don't think I saw hedge fund managers on that list.
Yeah, Nicole and I talked about that meme a little bit too, and it, obviously the context of the infographic was referring to like providing hazard pay to people who have to work with the public, actual quote unquote essential workers. But the problem with putting out an infographic like that is people don't always understand that nuance. And so they see that infographic and they think, you're telling me who's important in society and who isn't.
Yeah.
And that's not the way that information is supposed to be framed but that's how people are going to interpret it.
Also,
And-
the infographic was made by an artist.
Yeah, well, that's
Right?
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, it's
And
Well,
my-
maybe, I mean, I didn't actually, I only glanced at it, and so maybe the design wasn't very good because I didn't get that context at all. No offense to the artist, just.
well, yeah, and it's that infographic. You know, it's a meme being slapped onto an infographic where you're only seeing part of it and everything. But yeah, it's.
Okay, that's probably why I didn't see the context.
But that's the point, though. Like that, whether you know what the actual intended purpose of that infographic was, you got exactly the interpretation out of it that I am arguing is the troublesome part about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at no fault of yourself. Like that is what you're going to read that whole information packet as, is like, these people are important, these other people are not important. And yet we know that the artists, the creatives, the art itself as a concept, literally saving lives too. Not in the sense of like, you know, taking care of you while you're sick, or, you know, providing you with vital sustenance and such, but mental health is a huge part of what everybody's been struggling with for the last year plus, and having art to dive into and to keep your spirits up is a huge part of like making it through this together.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's like it kills me when people think that art isn't important, but it's like everything, you just forget how much is art sometimes if you're not an artist, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with
Like,
that.
literally everything in our world is designed. Everything.
Mhm.
Everything that we live on. Everything. So those people are crazy.
Well, I think it's easy to take for granted the things that you don't think about, you know. I don't know. It's not like you're sitting, and I think a lot of people have a misconception about, you know, what it is to design something, or like I know, I mean, the most basic example is when computer art started really becoming popular. People are just like, you press a button and then it makes art for you, and like
Yeah.
that clearly isn't how it works, but that was still like how
You
people
click-
saw it.
Yeah, you click the
So-
animate button and it animates, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how computer animation works. I'm like, yeah, really not. Like super, super not.
It's like how to draw an owl. You draw the circles and then draw the rest of the owl.
I love that post.
Yeah,
I love
that's classic. Grabbing some stuff from chat here. Delphine says, especially podcasts by already famous people who are suddenly have all this free time. That is a whole conversation I could unpack sometime. I know that's probably near and dear to Phil's heart, with, you know, for Botch Podcast being a D&D podcast in a very crowded space of lots of famous, and don't get me wrong, a lot of the celebrity-driven D&D content out there is fantastic, and it is a step above a lot of the indie stuff that's out there for many reasons, particularly because it's voice actors and regular actors
Yeah.
literally doing what their day job is for fun, and having all the resources that people who work in the industry have access to. It helps a lot, but that is also it also has some negative effects. There's something called the Matt Mercer effect in D&D for DMing games, where everybody who sits down at a table expects to be playing in a Critical Role game, and they're getting an actual D&D game like every normal person has ever experienced, which is a wild ride to say the least usually.
Especially if you're botched.
Especially if you're botched. Guardian Randy says, I did not succumb to the pressure to start an OnlyFans in 2020. Small victories. Smash.
Also, I love your posts on Instagram. So
Smashy says, speaking from experience, people are losing their minds, capital letters. We are having to heavily quarantine because of my daddy, and if we didn't have the art escapes, my bubble would have set ourselves on fire. Yeah, it's particularly people who have to quarantine and isolate because they have at-risk people in their household. That lifeline to the outside world through art, through entertainment is vital.
Well,
It's
especially with like Smashy, who is a content creator herself. Like there is an escapism in other people's content creation because you're not getting the social aspect of it, of going out and getting new ideas and getting new fresh things to then stream about. Like you're just in your house doing the same thing. What do I talk about week to week?
Delphine says, I don't know if I'd have survived without PBS Kids.
Aw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Families with children, too. Like, oh, boy. All I can think of is the Rorschach meme. You think I'm locked in here with you, but you're locked in here with me.
Literally every parent ever during this.
Yep. You guys are officially out of time, so I'll leave it up to M for how long you guys are gonna have here until she presents. But
I can riff a little bit, give people some extra time. But
I mean, I don't mind showing an unfinished piece. I can survive.
yeah. But I just want to say, so already, like, I am so thrilled because this conversation has evolved and changed in ways that I didn't expect it to, and that is the thing I love about the online community and the online streaming art. And I am really, really grateful. Thank you so much for everybody who showed up. And this was originally going to be like a quick 2-hour stream where we just did some prompts and do that, and it has evolved into something amazing and awesome. And I'm so thrilled. So thank you to everyone in chat. Thank you to my artist friends who are willing to show up and do this with me. Because
Thank you.
Thank
I was
you.
like, hey, you want to go outside of your comfort zone and do this weird thing? Like, let's do it. So it's awesome. But it's a lot of fun with chat because you guys give us stuff to talk about, but you also inspire us. And there is something about being a commercial artist in a sense that the audience helps. Like, we don't survive without you. So it is a very symbiotic relationship. So I'm incredibly grateful to that. So before I get too weepy, so here's my, so I didn't only gender bend, but I also humanified. I don't think that's a word. So I made Lady Gonzo. I named her Gonza, and I added her sidekick chicken, her sidekick cock, because that's fun to say.
That is perfect.
But yeah,
I love everything about that.
yeah, that was fun. It was ridiculous. Like when I was thinking Muppets, I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do with this one, but yeah. And I meant to throw it back to you, Paul, from a while ago. When I was growing up, my parents didn't have cable, so the only time I would get to watch like Nickelodeon was at my grandparents' house. So I really didn't grow up on Muppets. Like, I think my first, like, we talk about being impressed with puppet work and puppetry and all of that was really Yoda in Star Wars. Like, that's where we talk about, like, oh, this is really cool.
Sorry, let me self-correct.
Perfect. So yeah, so there's mine. Oh, Gosh, Del is so good at this. Like, she just kills me. So Claudio, the chicken instead of Camilla. That's perfect. He's even wearing a little top hat. So,
yeah, Del's a bit of a Muppets super fan. So,
but also, like, she just kills it in chat. Like, the number of great ideas I have flat out stolen from her from chat are ridiculous. So, all right, I'm gonna throw it over to Nicole because I'm so excited about this and I love them so much.
Oh my gosh.
I tried a different style. So
I like it.
yeah, so I had to Google the Muppets because I'm not familiar with their works. So this is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, or I don't know what I would call these two ladies, and Beaker. So those were the originals, and I turned them into women's.
I love it.
Delphine is very interested in purchasing a print of this art. So
that can be arranged.
Heck yeah. Also, shameless plug, check out Nicole's Etsy because she's got badass stickers on there and awesome stuff. She's also doing watercolor like it's no big deal. So super check out her thing because it's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
But yes, I love them. Also, like the hair on the doctor is just perfect. Like the both of the hair, like it's just perfect. It's so good. I love it so much.
They're perfect.
So fun. All right, John, I'm gonna throw it over to you. I'm gonna switch. Oh god, so good.
Oh my god. I can't handle this.
John, I don't have words. I love it so much. And I hadn't, of the other ones, I had like a little sneak peek of it, but this one was an honest reveal, and I love it.
Excellent.
Oh my god, the eyelashes. I mean, that's really what I go for. That's the eyelashes I aspire to.
Yeah, like Sam the Eagle has like these super bushy like eyebrows, and I was like, no. We can fix that up.
Oh, I love it. I just love it. Great.
So, am I the only one interpreting Samantha the Eagle as having Samantha from Sex and the City's personality?
Hey, there you go. That works.
Perfect. Oh,
I can pretend like I did that on purpose.
oh, that's my favorite thing when people are like, "Hey, did you mean this?" And I'm like,
Yep.
"Yes, yes."
One pause.
I am that smart.
Definitely.
I'm that. Oh my god, it's so fun. Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, all right. And let me switch over. I gotta sign my thing and do that. Bam. Oh, hang on. There we go.
Ooh, that's cute.
Look at it.
Oh my god, that's cute.
so I forgot to name her. Maybe Franny? I don't know. So this is a Lady Fozzie.
Oh,
So
the
cute.
pose is so cute.
Any ideas for names?
I'm throwing it out to you, Del. jessebetz says Fezzy.
Fuzzy. Oh, I do like Fuzzy.
I do. I wear fezzes now. Fezzes are cool.
Fazina.
Oh,
Fuzzy and the bear.
awesome, man. Also, Del threw out for you, Nicole, Dr. Bunny, Honeydew, and Becca.
Yeah, that works.
Pretty good.
Mm.
Del, yes. Also, just a reminder, this was Del's topic. So, Fezette. Fezette is
Fuzette.
Fezette's fun.
Fuzette and then Fuzzy for short, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Oh my gosh. That is so fun. Yeah, the pose is just, it kills me. It's so good.
Thank you.
Oh, I want that top. That's like super cute. All right. So let me switch. Boop, boop, boop. All right. I'll just switch everybody around. There we go. All right. So again, thank you so much to chat. Thank you for coming out for this. You guys are awesome. Your support for us has been absolutely incredible, and we are so grateful. Thank you for showing up and chatting with us and supporting our art. If you want to see more of the Doodle Crew, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Pretty much everything is Doodle Crew or Doodle Crew Draws. So you can follow stuff there. And like I've said many times, and will continue to say, thank you so much to Nicole, because Nicole is making sure that all of this awesome art you see on stream ends up as a post actually online so people can view it, because I'm not good at that. So yeah. Humongous thanks to John and Paul. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us. It's super, super fun, and I'm so thrilled. So, John, I'm actually going to throw it to you first. Remind everybody where they can find you so they can check out more of your stuff. And yeah.
So you can find a lot of my illustration stuff on johnhefner.com. And I tend to post other varieties of sketches and whatnot on my Instagram, which is just my name @JohnHefner.
Awesome. Yep. And for anybody in chat, again, because Nicole is awesome, she set up the prompts so you get to see all of that, because I know I'm not always great, and I had to super double check myself to make sure I spelled your last name wrong, John. So there it is up on screen, but also in chat. And Paul, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter @SoapboxClots, and you can also find me on Crash Test Pilots with Nicole every week.
Heck yeah. Super, super fun. And very fun. What is it? The last Sunday of the month? Bro Amigos is back?
I actually didn't know about that yet.
Oh, okay. I didn't know when it was.
You spoiled me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't know
yeah.
if it was supposed to be happening, but
Phil tends to dictate the schedule, but yeah, the Bromigos ride again. We are now numbered 4 again. We have Steve, he who is Steve, has joined Kurtstable, and I'm sorry, VO by Kurt, because he's rebranded as well. It's 2021, new year, new us. Everybody's rebranded in the last year or so. So yeah, Kurt, VO by Kurt, and then Philip, who is Imaginary Nomad on Twitch and Twitter. And we played Pummel Party for our first episode, but we are going to be changing it up and doing all kinds of stuff, probably including the community a bunch as well. And yeah, so we're just looking to have fun with it.
which is super fun because they dunk on each other, and if you ever had any worries about being bad at video games, they harass each other in a way that makes it totally okay to be bad at it. But I know it's super, super fun, and I don't actually know which channel that is on anymore. Oh, it's on its own.
It's on
Yeah.
Bromigos now on Twitter, or I'm sorry, Twitch.
Yeah. So that's a super fun time. Again, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but watching people play games, like the commentary is pretty great, the chat's pretty great, and they'll open it up to play like Jackbox games. So if there's games that you in chat own, you can join in with that, and it's fun. It's ridiculous, and it's fun, and it's a good time. So I'm happy to have that back. Yeah. So Laura, where can people find you?
You can find me at Laura Charles Art. You can also find me, I have a website, lauracharles.art, and I am an artist, sometimes illustrator, and yeah, that's what I do. I do a lot of watercolors, as you saw. I never actually got into the gouache today, but maybe next time.
Maybe next. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And the incredible mod that is Nicole. Where can people find you? Where should they find you?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Mayor Squish, and in pretty much every Twitch chat ever, because I make a point to be everywhere.
Yes. Well, she's awesome. And speaking from 100% personal experience, we benefit from you being in the chat because you mod like a motherfucker, and it's awesome. So big thanks for you showing up and doing that, and that's awesome. And since you're already here, you probably already know, but you can find me, a swan named Emily, across the internet. It's pretty much that, everywhere or some version of that. Follow me. I do stuff Friday afternoons. I stream my personal stream, which if you want to see Dell come up with some amazing prompts and have me draw them, that's kind of been the thing that's been happening, and I love it. But yeah, also coming up in the next week or so, on the 21st, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m. I mentioned it, but Steph from Protest Too Much podcast and I are doing our next episode of Sketching Shakespeare. So she will bring me a chunk of prose from a different thing in Shakespeare and will dictate it to me, and I will draw a long-form comic based on it, which is super fun because as a human, I have been incredibly scared by Shakespeare, and so having someone read it to me, but then also explain to me what's happening in a way that I get to then draw is super fun. So if you want to come and hang out with us and bounce around with some Shakespeare, that'll be on Sunday, the 21st at 2 p.m. But pretty much if you hit that follow button on this channel, you'll be notified not only when I personally go live, but also when the Doodle Crew goes live. We are in the works to get a kind of consistent Saturday morning cartoons schedule going. So if you like our Saturday morning cartoons, we are definitely working on that. Also, as I mentioned, that coming up on the 27th, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, is a very special Saturday morning cartoon. So the lovely Kia Creations and Guardian Randy, who have been in chat, are going to be a part of that, as well as Megan Creates, and a special guest. And we are doing a very, very special, something totally different Saturday morning cartoon stream. So definitely check that out. We will be promoting that this coming week. But as always, again, super thank you to John and Paul. Paul, thank you so much for emceeing. You make my life much easier. John, thank you so much for guesting. I'm so thrilled to have you, and it was fun to draw with you again. And
Totally.
yeah,
Likewise.
thank you. You guys are awesome. This was incredible. I have so much fun. We are going to raid into Almost Daily Discourse, which is the twitch.tv/almostdailypod, which, as I mentioned, Steph and I, we are the sister podcast to that of In Addition. If you'd like to hear some funny knuckleheads talk about stuff, definitely follow them on your various podcatchers and do that. They're good peeps and friends of the show. So yeah, I'm going to try and do this. It's always a little bit dodgy, but I'm going to do my best. And you're gonna laugh at me while I try and do this.
Do you want me to do it?
Yes.
Oh, you got it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Thank you again, everyone. Follow these amazing people and follow us because you'll get to see this art pop up in the next probably month. So yeah, let's see. All right, here we go. Right now, let's do it. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.